Chapter 2261 Shadow Stone, Flame Area. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Eternal Flint is no longer in Boulder Lair. Bloodstone said. These Xeon ninth ancestors showed disbelief one by one. Bloodstone, do you want to court death? Said Zhou Daozu coldly. Bloodstone smiled bitterly. Every Xeon, the Eternal Flint is really not in the ancient megalithic nest. If it was in the ancient megalithic nest, how could Mingyun be deceived by the Eternal Flint powder here? Didn't he find the Eternal Flint long ago? When they thought about it carefully, it seemed so. A super-enhanced object like Mingyun sneaked into this place wearing the clothes of nothingness, and the object level of the giant stone tribe could not be found at all. Therefore, if the Eternal Flint was in the ancient megalithic nest, then Mingyun must have found it long ago. At this time, Dongchen Daozu asked, "Where is the Eternal Flint?" Bloodstone sighed, but still didn't hide it. He knew that if he made up a reason casually, these Xeon ninth ancestors would not believe it, and maybe they would still destroy the giant stone tribe. Therefore, he can only say this about the whereabouts of the Eternal Flint. In the truncation penalty area. Bloodstone said. Truncate the penalty area. 1. These 9 original ancestors of the Xeon were shocked. How could the Eternal Flint be in the truncated restricted area? In the truncation restricted area. Do you dare to enter the truncation restricted area? Dongchen Daozu expressed doubts. The other Xeon ninth ancestors were also a little unconvinced. They are very aware of the danger of cutting off the restricted area. Generally, the 9-layer primitive ancestors will almost certainly die if they enter there. If they enter, they are not afraid of the general danger. But their power is too strong. Once they enter the restricted area, they will encounter even more terrifying dangers. Therefore, they did not dare to enter the depths of the restricted area, and even if they did, they had to exit quickly. It's really cutting off the forbidden area. Bloodstone explained. Our megalithic tribe has not yet born a clan of the critical point of the peak of the material level. Even if it is me, it is still a little short of hitting the enhanced material level, so there is no way to use it for the time being. The Eternal Flint made a breakthrough. But the Eternal Flint is very mysterious. Even if it is at the enhanced level, it is not necessarily how much you know about the Eternal Flint. And our megalithic tribe has obtained the Eternal Flint for a long time, but it has not been known to the outside world before. After such a long time of research, we finally have the result. This result is to use the power of the Eternal Flint to enter the flame area that cuts off the forbidden area, and it will not cause those terrifying things. Eternal Flint can also help enter the flame area of the truncated restricted area. These Xeon ninth ancestors were shocked. Although they knew about the Eternal Flint, some of them used the Eternal Flint to break through to become the original ancestor of the Xeon ninefold, but they did not know the use of the Eternal Flint. After all, if they get the Eternal Flint, it will definitely be used to help break through the original ancestor of the 9-layer Xeon. Who will use it to study other uses, let alone let the Eternal Flint enter the truncation restricted area? If it is lost in the truncation restricted area, it cannot be recovered. That would be a big loss. An avatar of your Bloodstone tribe took the Eternal Flint to the truncated restricted area. Dongchen Daozu asked. Bloodstone nodded. Yes, our primitive antiquity has reached the object level, and it is very difficult to grow, even more difficult than your practitioners. If you want to improve to the limit of the object level, it is very difficult to have the qualification to hit the enhanced object level. Therefore, Shadow Stone, the strongest of our giant rock tribe, took the Eternal Flint to the restricted area, hoping to use the resources in the flame area of the restricted area to reach the peak of the material level. At that time, he can use the Eternal Flint to attack the reinforcement level. Once our megalithic tribe has it to strengthen object, then we don't need to fear the holy tribe. So it is. Many to strengthen the material level completely understand. But they were surprised that the Bloodstone actually revealed this secret. Shouldn't they keep this secret? After all, this is the only chance for the rise of the giant rock tribe. You actually directly disclose the situation of your megalithic tribe's Shadow Stone, which is a bit beyond my expectations. Said Daozu Dehu. Bloodstone didn't speak. The reason why he said it was because they threatened him, he didn't want to fall, and secondly, his relationship with Shadow Stone was not good. Moreover, the Eternal Flint was found by the Shadow Stone, and it is also the return stone. It has nothing to do with him, he also wants to get the Eternal Flint. But the strength of the Shadow Stone is even stronger than him, so he can't beat it. Another point, that is, it doesn't matter. After all, if the Shadow Stone does not break through the super-enhanced material level, it will never return to the Giant Stone tribe. This is also the original agreement to prevent the eternal flint from being exposed and robbed after the Shadow Stone returns, gone. The Shadow Stone will either successfully break through and come back, or it will completely fall to the outside world. Moreover, Shadow Stone was in the truncated restricted area, so he couldn't get in touch. So, there is no difference between saying and not saying. Quote. Bloodstone, let the Shadow Stones of your Boulder tribe come back. Day Tiger Daozu ordered. Day Tiger Daozu, I can't contact him. He is cutting off the restricted area. I only know that in the flame area, everything else can't be done. Bloodstone said helplessly. So, where did you find the eternal flint of your megalithic tribe? Dongchen Daozu asked. Bloodstone explained. The eternal flint was found by Shadow Stone, and I don't know where he got it from. Even if he knew, it wouldn't be there, otherwise I would have gone. 1. When these Xeon 9th level ancestors heard it, what Bloodstone said made sense. But now, they naturally have nothing to gain. Truncate the restricted area. They sighed slightly, it's still too dangerous there. They can't risk their own lives for the eternal flint, it's not worth it. The eternal flint is of no use to them, so they can't venture out of the restricted area. Afterwards, these Xeon 9th ancestors left this place for good and did not destroy the giant stone tribe. After all, once the Shadow Stone really breaks through to the enhanced item level in the future, then destroying the giant stone tribe will cause the Shadow Stone's crazy revenge. Even if Shadow Stone is surrounded and killed later, the loss is inevitable. This is not a time of war, and there is no need to bring unknown danger to oneself. Therefore, he did not attack the giant stone tribe. Finally gone dragon, Bloodstone breathed a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that these Xeon 9th level ancestors would go back and destroy them. Up to the enhancement level, when will I be able to reach it? If I can reach this level, I won't be so aggrieved today. Bloodstone Dark Road. Not long afterward, the Xeon 9-fold primitive ancestor of the major forces told the 9-fold primitive ancestor of the forces about the Shadow Stone and the Eternal Flint. As for whether these 9-fold ancestors can do anything, it is up to them. Chapter 2262 at #039, S time to watch the play. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. With the leak of the Eternal Flint news, some of the 9 ancestors who are qualified to hit the Xeon are moved. If they obtain the Eternal Flint, it may not be long before they will become the original ancestors of the 9th strong, ranking at the peak of the Silent Black Sea, belonging to the strongest group. The Daozu of Shi Chaos is qualified to attack the original ancestor of the Xeon 9th layer, but he has failed several times. This shackle is too difficult to break. It's a pity that the Eternal Flint is in the hands of the Shadow Stone of the Giant Stone tribe. Even if the Shadow Stone is weaker than me, it will not be too weak, and the other party has the Eternal Flint and is still cutting off the restricted area, and the other party has the ability to cut off the restricted area. I can't save my life, if I go there, I will also fall. Shijuan Daozu said helplessly. Judging from the current situation, there is no way for him to take the Eternal Flint from Shadow Stone. Unless the Shadow Stone comes out of the truncation penalty area, then he will have a chance. But once the Shadow Stone comes out, there is no need for him to do it. The original ancestors of the 9-layered building will start. Cut off the restricted area. Inside the endless flame area, a fiery red figure was cultivating in a volcano. His body continued to absorb a mysterious substance inside the volcano, and his strength was increasing at a very slow rate. And he is the Shadow Stone of the Boulder tribe. It's still a bit far from the limit of the material level. It's useless to me here. I have to find 203 again to find resources. 1. Shadow Stone muttered. Unexpected. A pair of terrifying eyes covered this area, staring at him. No, it was discovered again. Shadow Stone's face changed greatly, and he immediately activated the power of Eternal Flint to cover up his existence, and then quickly escaped. Boom. This volcano was directly turned into ashes, and the surrounding area was shattered. Yingxi didn't know who the owner of these eyes was, and he had never seen the other party's true body, but he knew that the other party's strength was definitely comparable to the enhanced object level, and even more terrifying than the normal enhanced object level. If he were to face this mysterious creature, he might not be able to support his tricks. Therefore, every time he was discovered by the other party, he would choose to escape. However, he didn't know if he could escape every time, and if he didn't escape once, he would be dead. It's too dangerous to truncate the restricted area. Even the most powerful people in the Silent Black Sea dare not come in. I may fall here at any time. I must raise my cultivation base to the extreme of the object level as soon as possible, and then break through to the enhanced object level. Shadowstone secret passage. Shadowstone kept running away, CJFJ, but those eyes seemed to be locked on him and kept following it. For this kind of situation, Shadowstone has experienced it several times, so he is no stranger to it. He felt that he still had a good chance of escaping, and then went into hiding. However, this time it was beyond his expectations. The other party seemed to want to catch up with him completely and never gave up. Damn, this mysterious creature won't come in person. Shadowstone was a little flustered. For a long time, he thought that the other party's body was in a special place and couldn't leave, so he dealt with him from the air. But this time, he doubted whether the other party was really unable to come. But soon, he was dumbfounded. Boom, another pair of eyes appeared and locked him. This time, he felt that he really couldn't avoid it. Two creatures comparable to the enhancement level. Shadowstone was terrified. He felt that he couldn't stay here any longer, and he had to go out immediately, otherwise he might really fall this time. Leaving from the truncation penalty area is also not easy. He must find the weak point of the barrier before he can break through time and space and leave the truncation penalty area. There are no weak points of time-space barriers here, and with their interference, I can't leave. In desperation, Yingxi could only choose to escape. He had no direction at all and could only run away indiscriminately. Even if the two beings that are comparable to the enhanced material level are shot at him from the air, their power is extremely terrifying. Soon, Shadowstone was injured. This moment, Shadowstone has only one idea, and that is to escape from this area of fire first. He also has a certain understanding of the truncation forbidden area. For example, the truncation forbidden area is divided into many special areas, and the creatures in each area have their own territory. If he fled to other areas, these two mysterious creatures would never pursue him, and only then would he have hope of escaping. In this way, Shadowstone kept running away, and finally saw another area. There should be a red light area in front of you. The red light area is relatively weak. If I go there, the danger should be the least, and the two mysterious creatures shouldn't be chasing and killing them. Shadowstone muttered. The only problem is that the eternal flint can guarantee that he will not be hurt by the flames in the flame area, but if he goes to the red light area, he will not be able to protect himself, so he will be eroded by the red light. Therefore, his combat power in the red light area of the split soul will be damaged. However, he can't control that much, it's better than the current situation. Finally, Shadowstone escaped into the red light area of soul splitting at the cost of heavy damage. And just as he fled, he heard a roar. Moreover, he also saw two incomparable shadows appeared, and there were huge faces on the mountain. The mountain creatures are somewhat similar to the clansmen of the giant mountain tribe, but these are real creatures, not primitive antiquities. Shadowstone thought. The two mysterious creatures did not chase after them, so he breathed a sigh of relief. Now, he needs to find a safe place to heal his wounds, otherwise after going out from here, if he encounters danger again, it will be too bad. Yitian has been looking for resources in the soul-shattering red light area, and even collected soul-shattering red crystals by the way. But on this day, he sensed the existence of a primitive antiquity. Hey, how can there be primitive antiquities here, and they are primitive antiquities with such terrifying strength? Yitian did not perceive the other party, and only observed with copying talent. Judging from the investigation, the other party should be the primitive antiquities of the object level, but he is not clear about the specific level of the object level. But it is not normal for a primitive antiquity to appear here. I can't get close to each other, otherwise I will definitely be killed in seconds. Yitian thought to himself. When he returned to the red soul-splitting beast's lair, he found that those chemical-level red soul-splitting beasts were launching their subordinate soul-splitting red beasts to search for an outsider. Yitian knew that he must be searching for the primitive relic, so he reported his findings. After a while, a group of chemical-level soul-splitting red beasts passed by. It's time to watch a play. Yitian thought to himself. Chapter 2263 The Discovery of Yitian. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. The injury is a little more stable. Shadowstone secret passage. Although it will take a long time to recover from the injury, at least the injury will not worsen. Moreover, the place he was looking for was relatively hidden, and coupled with his ability to hide, it took a long time for the soul-splitting red beast to find him. At that time, he can leave at any time. Just heal here first, and when it's almost healed, just leave. Shadowstone planned this way. However, he suddenly sensed that there were quite a few chemical-level soul-splitting red beasts around. Exposed. He thought of it for the first time. But the soul-splitting red beast should not be good at tracking. When he fled into the soul-splitting red light area before, although he attracted the attention of those soul-splitting red beasts, he fled too fast, and when those soul-splitting red beasts arrived, he has long run away without a shadow. It stands to reason that even if these soul-shattering red beasts cast a net to find him, it is impossible to lock his position so quickly. Escape. Shadowstone immediately chose to run away. However, he underestimated the number of soul-splitting red beasts coming this time. Boom! A soul-splitting red beast of the chemical level has taken action, and many of them are at the peak of the chemical level. The existence of these peaks of the material level, the strength exerted in the red light area of the split soul is stronger than him. What's more, he is still in a state of heavy damage, and he can't exert 1/10 of his combat power. Under the siege of these chemical level soul-shattering red beasts, Shadowstone was soon on the verge of death. Damn, let's all die together. Shadowstone exploded. The terrifying annihilation force shattered the surrounding time and space. Several chemical level soul-splitting red beasts were directly injured, and several other chemical level were slightly injured. Due to the chaos of time and space when the Shadow Stone exploded, these soul-splitting red beasts only thought that the Shadow Stone was dead, so they left one by one, and did not investigate carefully. In fact, Shadow Stone died completely, and what he blew himself up was just his body. As a primitive antiquity, as long as a trace of its origin is hidden, it is not considered a fall. And he integrated a trace of his origin into the eternal flint, and then used the self-destruction to send the eternal flint away, concealing this group of chemical-level soul-splitting red beasts. If it were other alchemy levels or practitioners, it would definitely not be possible to do so. But his body is a primitive antiquities boulder, and the eternal flint is also a kind of stone, so it belongs to the same root and the same origin. This time it can accommodate a trace of his origin. Somewhere in the red light of the split soul, a fiery red stone appeared. At this time, a phantom appeared on the stone. And this stone is the eternal flint, and the phantom is the original manifestation of the shadow stone. It's really too dangerous to cut off the restricted area. You shouldn't have come in the first place. Shadowstone smiled wryly. Today, he has come to this end. Although he has not completely fallen, it is actually equivalent to falling. At present, he is just relying on the eternal flint to forcibly keep the last trace of his origin. But this state cannot be sustained, and when the eternal flint can't keep a trace of his origin, he will fall completely. I have to find a way to return to the giant stone tribe. It doesn't matter if I die, but this eternal flint is the hope of the giant stone tribe and cannot be lost here. Shadowstone secretly said. Even if he finds the weak point of the space-time barrier, he cannot break the barrier and return to the outside world. He must find a passage to the outside world so that he can go out. Then, he can notify the quest level of the giant stone tribe to receive it and bring the eternal flint back. Let's condense a body of the original ancestor of the 8 layers first. It is too inconvenient to have no body, and I can't bear any small danger at any time. Immediately, the shadow stone began to condense his body. In a short while, a simple body of the 8-fold ancestor was condensed, but such a body could not help the consumption of battle. After all, he only had a trace of his origin left. Once he fought, he would be exhausted in a while. Next, you have to be careful, you must never encounter the soul-splitting red beast again. Shadowstone muttered. That primitive relic was killed. Yi Tian learned this news from the mouths of other soul-shattering red beasts, so the current high-level soul-shattering red beast no longer asks to find outsiders. However, this day, Yi Tian occasionally got a piece of news from the Zhouzhang building. It was originally a piece of information that belonged to the original ancestor of the 9th level, but it spread later, so even if he knew half a step of the original ancestor of the 9th level, he naturally knew it. Ask for flowers, boulder horde, shadow stone, eternal flint. Although Yi Tian didn't know much about the information, the only thing he knew about it was astonishing. The shadow stone of the giant stone tribe took the eternal flint to the flame area that cut off the forbidden area. The flame area is the flame area outside the red light area of the soul. I have been there before, but the body of the soul-shattering red beast can't bear it at all. Turn to ashes in an instant. Yi Tian now probably knows who the original antiquity that broke into the red light area of the split soul is, and it is clearly the shadow stone of the giant stone tribe. So, the shadow stone should have encountered danger in the flame area, so he had to escape into the red light area of the split soul, and was trapped by me, and then surrounded and killed by the red soul split beast. Point 0. No, there were quite a few soul-splitting red beasts who went to encircle and suppress the shadow stone at that time. Those weaker soul-splitting red beasts hid around and did not do anything, but they could see clearly that the shadow stone exploded, but there was no eternal flint. Yi Tian thought to himself. The breath of the eternal flint is difficult to hide, even if the soul-splitting red beast has never seen the eternal flint and does not know the use of the eternal flint. If such treasures are still there, those soul-splitting red beasts will not be unable to find it. Then there is a possibility that the shadow stone is not completely dead. Even if the shadow stone is not dead, it must be abolished. He should still be in the soul-splitting red beast area. If I find him, can't I kill him and take the eternal fire stone? Yi Tian said excitedly. That is the eternal flint. There is hope to create a Xeon 9th ancestor. Even the 9-layer building has only 9 Xeon 9th layer ancestors, such as Shizhuan Daozu, who have broken the 100-level limit of life, far exceeding the peak powerhouses of the ordinary 9-layer ancestors, but still have not achieved the Xeon 9th layer, original ancestor. It can be seen that it is difficult to become the original ancestor of the Xeon 9-fold. Although he doesn't know how to become the original ancestor of the 9-fold supreme power, and whether he will fall into this bottleneck in the future, if he obtains the eternal flint, there will be no such worries in the future. Look for the shadow stone. Yi Tian decided. As a result, he began to constantly search for the existence of shadow stones in the area of the soul-splitting red beast, and the replication talent has been turned on. Time passed slowly like this, and finally on this day, Yi Tian discovered the trace of shadow stone. Corpse. Chapter 2264 Get the Eternal Flint. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. This guy shadow stone is here, his breath seems to have weakened too much. Yi Tian was a little surprised. Under his investigation, Yingxi's current body is at most comparable to the late Yate ancestor. The main power of the primitive antiquities lies in the body, not the immeasurable way, and they do not have the power of the immeasurable way. Therefore, if the body becomes weak, it means that the opponent's strength is really weakened. Even if he masters special secret techniques, his real strength will definitely not reach the realm of the half-step 9-fold ancestor. It seems that those chemical-level soul-splitting red beasts really pushed Yingxi to a desperate situation, so that although he has not fallen, it is similar to falling. Yi Tian thought to himself. Immediately, Yi Tian chased after him. A soul-splitting red beast from the early stage of the 8-fold primitive ancestor. When Yingxi discovered Yi Tian, he immediately became a little dignified. He immediately escaped, 23, and was about to avoid Yi Tian. Although the soul-splitting red beast in the early stage of the 8th layer is very weak, he does not want to fight against any soul-splitting red beast. After all, he has no way to fight for a long time now, and even a single move is a burden. Moreover, if you kill this soul-splitting red beast at the early stage of the 8th level, it will lead to more soul-splitting red beasts, then it will be bad. Yingxi wanted to avoid it, but he found that his speed was not as good as the opponent's, and no matter how he changed his direction or hid, the opponent still walked straight towards him. Damn, this guy absolutely found me. Shadowstone secret passage. In a blink of an eye, he was caught up by Yi Tian. Seeing this, Yingxi decided to kill Yi Tian instantly with one move and then become more powerful. Although he couldn't use a few moves, just using one move should not cause his body to collapse. Go to hell. Yingxi shot, one hand grabbed it instantly, as if to crush Yi Tian in an instant. However, he was stunned the next moment. I saw Yi Tian's body surfaced with the power of immeasurable Dao domain, which directly made Yingxi's arm difficult to reach, and it kept shattering. Infinite Dao territory. Yingxi couldn't believe it at all. Isn't this the method of the 9-level ancestor among the cultivators? Why did the soul-splitting red beast in the early 8th level cut off in the restricted area display the limitless Dao domain? Not good. Shadowstone shivered. I saw that Yi Tian used the power of the infinite Dao to display an infinite Dao control technique, forming an endless golden spear that pierced through in an instant. Although the power of Yi Tian's forcible use of the soul-splitting red beast is far inferior to that of the body, it is still enough to crush the ordinary peak powerhouse of the 8th level ancestor. At this time, Shadowstone could not withstand such an attack at all. Puff! With one blow, the shadow stone was directly penetrated, and immediately the body began to collapse. Seeing this, Yi Tian was also a little surprised. Hey, this shadow stone is at least as good as the peak of the 9-fold original ancestor. Even if it is severely injured, the body is only at the late stage of the 8-fold original ancestor, and it will not be blown up by my blow. Is it so brittle? Yi Tian muttered. The key is that after the opponent was blasted, it did not recover. Click. A cracking sound came. Then, Yi Tian saw a fiery red stone, exuding a supreme aura. Eternal flint. Yi Tian was extremely surprised, and immediately grabbed this eternal flint and left this place. A trace of origin that is escaping. After Yi Tian checked it carefully, he penetrated into the eternal flint with the power of immeasurable Tao, and sensed the disintegrating shadow stone source. Soon, this trace of origin completely dissipated, representing that the shadow stone really fell. It turns out that the shadow stone has fallen, but the eternal flint forcibly kept a trace of his origin and kept him alive for the time being. And I just blew him up, causing his origin to completely collapse, and it can no longer exist. Quote. Yi Tian deduced. In other words, this eternal flint has completely belonged to him, and no one knows it yet. Eternal flint is not easy to preserve. Yi Tian frowned slightly. The soul-splitting red beast does not know the eternal flint, so even if it perceives it, it will not frantically snatch it. But those 9-layer primitive ancestors in the silent Black Sea can know the eternal flint. Once he takes it out and they perceive the aura of the eternal flint, he can't keep the eternal flint. In the face of the temptation to become the original ancestor of the 9-layered Zeon, I am afraid that even the ancestors of Shi Chaos will snatch it. The eternal flint must be kept in a safe place. Yi Tian thought to himself. But where is it safe? Soul split red light area. Kelly is also not safe. In case of being read by the detailed material level, they are afraid that they will also use it for research and will not leave it to him. Without thinking of a way, Yi Tian still hides the eternal flint in the soul-shattering red light area for the time being, but it will be placed in a remote place of the soul-shattering red light. In such a remote place, other soul-splitting red beasts will not come over, thus reducing the risk of exposure. In the days that followed, Yi Tian was also inquiring about the eternal flint. He wants to learn more about the eternal flint through the 9-story building, so as to find a way to save the eternal flint. However, according to the information inquired from the 9-story building, Silent Black Sea does not know much about the eternal flint, only that the eternal flint cannot be stored in space treasures. Just like the shadow stone, the other party only directly inlaid the eternal flint in the body, and the shadow stone itself is a primitive stone-like antiquity, and the study of the eternal flint is very deep, so relying on its own breath can cover more than 99% of the eternal flint. Only a trace of the breath of eternal flint is left, and it is difficult to sigh the breath of eternal flint even if the strength is not strong. But Yi Tian couldn't hide the aura of the eternal flint, even if he could build a big formation to cover his breath, he couldn't arrange such a big formation. In addition, Yi Tian also inquired about a piece of news, that is, the eternal fire stone can help the 9-layer primordial ancestor or the physician-level powerhouse to easily enter the flame area of the truncated restricted area, and can also hide the breath. Of course, Yi Tian would not think that this concealment was perfect, otherwise Shadow Stone would not have escaped. 5.9 Facts have proved that the usefulness of the eternal flint should be more than this, but the original ancestors of the 9 layers did not do much research, or did not dare to do random research. It is true that the power contained in the eternal flint is terrible. Even if other Taoist ancestors really obtained the eternal flint, they would not dare to mess with it. For the time being, you can study the eternal flint in the red light area of the split soul, and maybe you can find other uses of the eternal flint. Yi Tian thought to himself. So, he copied the body of a red soul-splitting beast and entered the area of the red soul-splitting beast that truncates the forbidden area. In this way, even if one body fell during the research process, there would be no accident, and the other one would not change. The body can leave and hide with the eternal flint. In this way, Yi Tian started his own research experiment on eternal flint. Chapter 2265 Using the eternal flint, the strength has skyrocketed. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Studying the eternal flint is very dangerous, and you will die if you are not careful. The original giant stone tribe dared to study the eternal flint, and it was also tested by many clansmen of the 8th level ancestor level. Anyway, they did not care about the clansmen without wisdom. For the giant stone tribe, or other primitive antiquities tribes, only the talisman clansmen and wise clansmen are valuable, and the others can be sacrificed. As predicted, Yi Tian began to study the eternal flint and hit the wall everywhere. On this day, the power of the eternal flint swept Yi Tian's body, and the weak body of the soul-splitting red beast was directly burned to ashes. A replica body has fallen. Next, Yi Tian tried again and again, not caring about the loss of replicating the body at all. After countless attempts, Yi Tian gradually had a sufficient understanding of the value of the eternal flint. This treasure is very magical. It contains terrifying power, but it is very restrained. Even if the energy escapes, if it is not absorbed, it can also be absorbed by the eternal flint, thus ensuring that the energy of the eternal flint will not be exhausted. In the blink of an eye, long years passed. This day, Yi Tian finally had a good research success. Eternal flint can temper the body. As long as you master the strength and method, you can greatly temper the body, make the body stronger, and even slightly increase the level of life. This is also the result that Yi Tian has tested through numerous tests. It has always been difficult to improve the level of life. If you can use the power of the eternal flint to improve the level of life, it is undoubtedly a real big opportunity. In fact, the essence of the eternal flint can improve the life level of the peak of the nine-fold original ancestor, but under normal circumstances, only the peak of the nine-fold original ancestor can use the eternal flint only after it is qualified to hit the strong ninth-level original ancestor. If other Taoist ancestors wanted to use the eternal flint, they would easily be burned to ashes. This is also the reason why Yingxi only dares to use the eternal flint after he has achieved the ultimate object level. Before reaching the ultimate object level, he also dare not use the eternal flint to practice. In other words, using the eternal flint to assist cultivation, only Yi Tian has hope at present. Before, I used the body of the split soul red beast to test, and the tempering method is not necessarily suitable for the human body. I have to find a way to test my own body. Yi Tian muttered. After all, with different bodies, the results of the test are not the same, almost all of which will lead to mistakes. Immediately, Yi Tian thought of a way, that is to let the real body copy the body hide in the body of the soul-splitting red beast. With the soul-splitting red beast to resist the soul-splitting red light, the real body-copying body will be fine. As for research, the body of the soul-splitting red beast can be turned into a hull, and then the eternal flint is placed inside the hull, and the replica body of the real body can be tested inside the hull. Certainly, the downside of this is that if the experiment fails, both replicas will crumble. But Yi Tian doesn't care about that. So, he tried again and again. Due to the previous experience, Yi Tian spent most of the time this time, and the experiment was successful in the end. After the test was successful, Yi Tian prepared to use the eternal flint to temper his body, strengthen his body, and raise his life level by the way. In particular, the improvement of the level of life is of great significance. Let's start practicing with the eternal flint. Yi Tian motivated the power of the immeasurable Tao domain and began to draw a trace of energy from the eternal flint. This trace of energy is unbearable energy for today's Yi Tian. But at a critical moment, he integrated this trace of energy into the infinite Tao domain, spreading the energy, making the entire infinite Tao domain filled with the breath of eternal flint. In this way, the energy is dispersed, it cannot cause too much damage to Yi Tian, and it will not exceed his endurance limit. Because Yi Tian's experiment was successful, he successfully mastered the control of energy. Immediately, the eternal flint energy in the immeasurable Tao domain began to pour into his body for tempering. Boom! Yi Tian's body seems to be broken again and again. Fortunately, his life-saving ability is very strong, and he has a lot of life-saving Yuan Tao ancestors, so he can use this method to temper. That is to say, even if Yi Tian leaked out this method, other Taoist ancestors could not imitate it completely. The effect of tempering is very good, and it is many times faster than I do not know how to practice alone. Yi Tian thought to himself. Having obtained this kind of rapid promotion method, Yi Tian fell into a long-term retreat and practiced, and no longer ventured elsewhere. Gradually, the years of hundreds of billions of Yuan era passed. At this time, Yi Tian's physical body was already incomparably powerful, even no less than the physical body of the half-step 9-level ancestor, and his life level was also greatly improved. Although he was still in the early stage of the Ye primordial stage, when he tested it last time, he found that the life level had reached the level of 60. You must know that for many half-step 9-level ancestors, their life level can only hope to reach 60. Not only that, in the process of using the eternal flint energy countless times, Yi Tian's infinite Tao domain has also been tempered again and again, causing the strength of the infinite Tao domain to increase by more than 80%. It can be said that Yi Tian's current strength is at least 10 times stronger than in the past. My current strength may have surpassed that of the absolute sword Daozu. Yi Tian muttered. At the beginning, the strength of Weiji and Daozu made it difficult for him to look up, but he didn't expect that his strength could match the opponent's level so quickly. At the same time, Yi Tian made another discovery. My cultivation has grown for a while during the tempering process using the eternal flint, and it is now approaching the middle stage of the eightfold primitive ancestor. Yi Tian said excitedly. He felt that it didn't take too long for him to break through to the middle stage of the eightfold primitive ancestor. And once he broke through to the middle stage of the eightfold primordial ancestor, his strength would have to skyrocket. On this day, a big event also happened in the cutoff area. The entire truncated area boundary began to grow, and a large number of community boundaries were born, and the number of community boundaries in the entire truncated area boundary exceeded 200,000. You must know that there were only tens of thousands of community boundaries in the original truncated community, and there are so many community boundaries all of a sudden, it can be seen how fast the growth of the truncated community boundaries is. Not only that, the resources of the truncation zone boundary have also skyrocketed. From this moment on, the cutoff area has officially entered the ranks of the yellow level area, and it is still growing rapidly, developing towards the Zon level area. Since then, Zhouzhonglo has dispatched a group of Taoist ancestors to settle in the cutoff Wanglo. Those forces and Taoists who originally belonged to the boundary of the Hanhai district have rushed to the cutoff area, so that the boundary of the Hanhai district has truly declined, no longer. It's a big area. Chapter 2266 Show Your Strength. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. This day, the high-level officials of the 9-story building decided to turn the cutoff yellow building into a cutoff Zon tower. This news shocked many Taoist ancestors of the 9-story building. After all, if you want to supply a Xuanlu, at least it must be a Zon-level region. At present, the truncated area boundary is not enough to build a truncated Xuanlu. However, the high level of the Zhouzhong building is very clear that the potential for truncation of the district boundary is very high, so it is qualified to establish a Xuanlu, and even has the opportunity to become a ground floor or even a sky building in the future. With the current growth rate of the truncated area boundary, a Xuanlu can be built. To build a Xuanlu, a lot of resources were invested in the early stage. First of all, the construction cost of the Xuanlu itself is very high, and it has to be arranged to withstand the formation of the 9-fold original ancestor, as well as the resource consumption required to maintain the formation. The most basic requirements for the construction of the Xuanlu are a half-step 9-level original ancestral master and 3 deputy masters. The 9-layer building does not specify the candidate for the landlord. Any half-step 9-layer ancestor of the 9-layer building is eligible to compete, and even the peak powerhouse of the 8-layer ancestor is eligible to compete, provided that the strength is sufficient. If the strength is not enough, there is no way to become the master of the Xuanlu. The truncate Xuanlu is in Truncate Black Mountain. Truncate Montenegro contains great secrets, and the Truncate region has the hope of becoming a heaven-level region in the future, so there are many who want to become the half-step 9-level ancestor of Truncate Mysterious Tower. Similarly, there are many Taoist ancestors who have their sights set on cutting off the position of the deputy landlord of the Xuanlu. Truncate the Xuanlu, the position of the deputy landlord. Yi Tian also stared at this position. First of all, once you become the deputy owner of the truncated Xuanlu, you can get a lot of resource rewards all at once. And many treasures are only open to positions above Zon level landlord or deputy landlord, and other Taoist ancestors are not eligible to enter. Once he becomes the deputy owner of the Xuanlu, his cultivation will definitely improve very quickly. So, Yi Tian also signed up to compete for the deputy landlord. As for the position of the landlord, he has no intention of competing for it. Although his strength has already matched that of the powerful half-step 9-layer primitive ancestor, and he may not even be his opponent, Jukan Daozu is only average among the half-step 9-layer primordial ancestor. After all, the Tao ancestor of Ju Sword did not even condense the will of immeasurable, and even did not fully comprehend the Tao of immeasurable, but only condensed the prototype of the Tao of immeasurable at the peak of Dacheng, which is still one step away from the true Tao of immeasurable. And some half-step 9-layer primitive ancestors have comprehended the real immeasurable Tao and mastered the control skills of immeasurable Tao, which are much stronger than the absolute sword Tao ancestor. Therefore, Yi Tian will not be so arrogant that he can match those top half-step 9-level ancestors. The Endless Tao ancestor actually signed up to compete for the position of the deputy owner of the Xuanlu. When Shi Zhuan Daozu saw this application, he was a little surprised. But thinking about it carefully, Yi Tian has already condensed the boundless Tao domain, even if the cultivation base is still in the early stage of the 8th layer primitive ancestor, but the combat power is still very terrifying. However, he felt that Yi Tian was not necessarily comparable to those incomparably enchanting 8th level ancestor peak powerhouses in the 9-level building. Some of the 8th level original ancestor peak powerhouses in the 9th level building have a life level of more than 50. Although they do not condense the boundless will, they have the real boundless Tao, and they have also mastered the boundless Tao control skills. Coupled with the advantages of their cultivation, their combat effectiveness terrible. This time, there were as many as 5 people who were so enchanting as the 8th level primordial peak powerhouse who applied for the competition to cut off the Xuanlu, so he felt that Yi had little hope. Unless Yi cultivation base can be immediately upgraded to the middle stage of the 8th layer primordial ancestor, then there is no hope of competing for the positions of the 3 sub-landlords. In the days that followed, the Zhejiang building was going all out to build the Shuozan building, and even dispatched several Zhejiang ancestors who were good at array formation and refining tools to build the Shuozan building. And the competition to cut off the Xuanlu landlord and the deputy landlord is about to start. This day, Yi received a notice, and the battle to cut off the position of the deputy master of Xuanlu began, and it was fought in Juchen Tianlu in the Zhejiang building. So, Yi and a group of Taoist ancestors who signed up went to Juchen Heavenly Tower. Dove Chen Tianlu. Yi came in here, waited for some time, and then ushered in the competition assessment. The so-called assessment is very simple, that is, a competition of strength, and the 3 most powerful 8-fold original ancestors Peak Daozu are qualified to rank as the deputy landlord of the truncated Xuanlu. Somewhere in Juchen Tianlu, Yi appeared here. He was about to play against a peak 8th level ancestor, and the entire process was watched by the 9 level ancestor, and even a number of 9 level ancestor peak powerhouses were concerned. Once the life and death are separated, there will be a 9-layer original ancestor peak powerhouse shot, guaranteeing that no one will really die. The number of Dao patriarchs participating was not large, only more than 100. After all, Dao patriarchs who were incompetent would not come to sign up. If they knew that they would not be able to obtain the quota for the deputy master of the Xuanlu, wouldn't it be a shame to participate? Soon, Yi opponent also appeared. Yi doesn't know each other. After all, there are too many ancestors of the 8th layer of the 9-layer building, so if they don't contact each other, they naturally don't know each other. However, from the results of the duplication talent investigation, Yi knew the other party's name. Jinsi Daozu. Of course, Yi only knew the opponent's name, and the opponent's strength was still unclear. And in the depths of Juchen Tianlu, a group of 9 ancestors were watching the battle. Endless Daozu and Jinsi Daozu, who do you think will win? It should be the Jinsi Daozu. After all, the Jinsi Daozu has reached the peak of the 8th level original ancestor, and he has also comprehended the infinite Dao and mastered the control skills of the infinite Dao. Although the endless Dao ancestor is also very evil, after all, his cultivation base is too low. For the time being, it should not be the opponent of Jinsi Daozu. I also think it's Jinsi Daozu. Jinsi Daozu is on top of our list of the 8th level ancestors of the 9-level building, ranking 36th, but he is not an ordinary 8-level ancestor. I think it should be the endless Dao ancestor. His strength is not enough to just look at his cultivation base. There are very few 9-level ancestors who know Yi true strength. Except for the 9 Xian 9-level ancestors and Shijuan ancestors in the 9-level building, the other 9-level ancestors have not received any news because the news has been completely blocked. Therefore, these 9 ancestors are not optimistic about Yi. Originally, the original ancestor of the 9-layered building didn't want Yi to sign up to show his strength, but if he thought about it carefully, it would be exposed, but as long as Yi stayed in the severing Xuanlu, there was no big problem. So, they allowed Yi to participate in the dragon. Just then, the battle begins. Yi was in the boundless Dao domain in an instant, and if he came out of the boundless straight domain, who would defeat the golden silk Dao ancestor? Boom, the immeasurable Dao domain came, directly suppressing the golden silk Dao ancestor. Infinite Dao territory. Jinsi Daozu was stunned, and those who watched the battle were also shocked. Chapter 2267 The position of the deputy landlord. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Daozu Jinsi looked at Yi in disbelief. Yi actually comprehended the infinite Dao realm. This is the exclusive ability of the 9th level ancestor, and it actually appeared on a Daoist ancestor in the early stage of the 8th level ancestor. If before, someone told him that a Taoist ancestor in the early stage of the 8-fold ancestor would have an immeasurable Taoist realm, he would never believe it. But at this moment, he had to believe it. He thinks that his talent is very enchanting, but after seeing Yi he realizes that he is really nothing. After Yi displayed the immeasurable Dao domain, he knew that he was not an opponent. Boom! The Golden Silk Road ancestor was controlled by Yi infinite Dao technique, the endless golden spear, which directly penetrated many defenses, and his body was also penetrated. Even if his life-saving ability and recovery ability are very strong, he was injured at this moment. Boom. After each confrontation, Jin Si Daozu's injury became more and more serious, but he did not hurt Yi Tian once. In the end, Jin Si Daozu chose to admit defeat. I surrender. Jin Si Daozu said quickly, although he can continue to fight, but it is just a dying struggle, there is no need for that. At the same time, those 9 ancestors were dumbfounded. The Infinite Dao ancestor actually owns the Infinite Dao domain, how is this possible? The Infinite Dao ancestor is too enchanting. In the early stage of the Eightfold Primordial Ancestor, 203 actually mastered the Infinite Dao domain, which shows that his will has reached the Infinite Will, and he has comprehended the Infinite Dao. Jin Si Daozu is already very good, the combat power is enough to match the half-step 9-layer original ancestor of the 9-layer building, but unfortunately it is still a little worse than the Endless Taoist. I've heard before that the Endless Dao ancestor is very likely to raise his life level to 9.9 in the realm of the 7th layer primordial ancestor. Now it seems that he is more evil than I imagined. 1. The potential of the Endless Taoist ancestor is unimaginable, and he definitely has the appearance of the strongest. The possibility of being the strongest is too low. No matter how evil the Infinite Dao ancestor is, he will only have an advantage in the 8th layer primitive ancestor. When the 9th layer primordial ancestor has the limitless Dao domain, his advantage will no longer be available. It is useless to practice fast, and there is no advantage in attacking the original ancestor of the Xeon 9th layer. That's right, some of the 9th level ancestors are more enchanting than the most powerful 9th level ancestors in the process of cultivation, but so far they have not made breakthroughs. When you reach the peak of the 9th level ancestors, you don't see talent but chance. When the opportunity arrives, it is possible to break through, talent or something is useless. I can't say that, no matter what, it will definitely be no problem for the Endless Dao ancestor to surpass us in the future. Next, Yi Tian defeated each of the 8th level ancestors' peak Taoist ancestors in the 9-level building with powerful strength, and successfully won a place with an undefeated record. At the same time, his strength was completely exposed. Even if Zhou Zhonglo wanted to block the news, it would be difficult to do so, because there were many Taoist ancestors who were paying attention to this battle this time, and it was impossible to block them all. Furthermore, when Yi Tian has become one of the sub-owners of the intersection Xuanlu, everything will be clear, and if you can guess, how can you block the news? Soon, the quotas for the owner of the truncated Xuanlu and the 3 sub-owners have all been fixed. The owner of the truncated Xuanlu is the ancestor of the half-step 9-fold ancestor Qingyao Daozu. The deputy masters are Yi Tian, Wuxin Daozu, and Mengyang Daozu, the 3 8-fold original ancestors. Ancient Spring Xuanlu. Ju Sword Daozu was shocked when he learned that the sub-owner of the Xuanzan building was Yi Tian. He knew very well the high gold content of the deputy master of the Xuanlu, which was even higher than that of the master of the Ancient Spring Xuanlu. Because everyone knows that in the future, the truncation of Xuanlu will definitely become one of the towers in the ground, and it may even become one of the towers in the sky. If you are now one of the sub-owners of the truncated Xuanlu, the benefits are too many. Therefore, this time, the incomparably enchanting 8-fold ancestor peak enchanting villains of Guquan Xuanlu have all participated, and it is conceivable how terrifying the competitiveness is. The Endless Dao ancestor is too scary. Ju Sword Daozu said in shock. Originally, he thought that Yi Tian would need a long time to catch up with him, but he didn't expect Yi Tian to catch up with him so quickly. He felt that with his current combat power, he should not be able to beat Yi Tian. Immeasurable Dao domain. According to the news, Endless Dao ancestor has mastered Boundless Dao and Boundless Will, and I have not fully comprehended Boundless Dao now. Ju Sword Daozu said with emotion. Now, Yi Tian has become one of the sub-owners of the truncated Xuanlu, and it is not suitable for him to be a member of the Guquan Xuanlu, so he must leave the Guquan Xuanlu. However, Yi Tian was a member of Guquan Xuanlu after all, so his performance is still above Guquan Xuanlu, and the next time Guquan Xuanlu's resource allocation will definitely be much more. After a period of time, the construction of the truncated Xuanlu was officially completed. At this time, Yi Tian also officially became one of the sub-landlords of the intersection Xuanlu. At this time, he saw the other 2 sub-landlords of Duan Xuanlu and Qingyao Daozu, the landlord of Duan Xuanlu. Qingyao Daoist is a female Daoist, but she is very evil. She once raised her life level to 9.8 when she was a half-step 7th level ancestor, and she almost raised her life level to 9.9. Although she failed later, she was considered a demon enough. But now, Qingyao Daozu has already comprehended the infinite Tao, and is about to condense the infinite will. He is one of the evildoers who has the extremely hope of condensing the infinite Tao ancestor in the half-step ninefold primitive ancestor realm. Although she was not comparable to Yi Tian's aptitude, she was still enchanting enough, so she won the position of the owner of the truncated Xuanlu. And it is rumored that she is the descendant of a certain ninefold ancestor peak, so her identity background is not ordinary. After becoming the deputy owner of Xuanzan Building, Yi Tian obtained a large number of resources. For him, this batch of resources is already unimaginable wealth, enough for him to squander for a long time. In addition, Yi Tian has extremely high authority and can enter some treasured places that he was not qualified to enter before. Immediately, Yi Tian was about to enter one of the 9-story building's earth-level treasures, the Sea of Dazzling Light. The fingers and half of the Dazzling Light, one of the treasures for the cultivation of the ancestors, which can be greatly improved, but due to the limited energy of the Sea of Dazzling Light, some energy will only be born after a long time. Therefore, if you want to enter the Sea of Glare, you need extremely high permissions. In the past, Yi Tian was not qualified to enter and didn't even know the existence of the Sea of Dazzling Light, but now he is qualified. The entry fee to enter the Sea of Glare is 50 million points, and the longer you practice, the more points you need. However, he had just become the deputy owner of Xuanzan Building, and he had won hundreds of millions of points in rewards, so there was no shortage of points. Soon, Yi Tian applied to enter the Sea of Dazzling Light to practice. Chapter 2268 Entering the Flame Area, Amazing Gains. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. The Sea of Glare. Yi Tian entered here, and immediately sensed the extremely rich energy, and this energy was specially used to improve the cultivation base, and the effect far surpassed other resources. As soon as he entered here, Yi Tian's body couldn't help absorbing the energy of the Sea of Glare. It's so powerful. With the help of the practice here, it is certain that the cultivation base will be upgraded to the middle stage of the original 8th level ancestor, but it is hard to say whether it can reach the late stage of the original 8th level ancestor. Yi Tian muttered. Immediately, he found a suitable place and began to sit cross-legged, absorbing energy to practice. Years go by. In the blink of an eye, Yi Tian had practiced in the Sea of Dazzling Light for hundreds of millions of years, and on this day, his cultivation finally broke the shackles and reached the realm of the middle stage of the eightfold primitive ancestor. This is also due to the fact that he himself is not far from the middle stage of the original ancestor of the eightfold, so he quickly broke the shackles. Afterwards, he practiced with all his strength, striving to improve his cultivation to the later stage of the eightfold primitive ancestor. Unconsciously, Yi Tian practiced hundreds of billions of original eras in the Sea of Dazzling Light, exhausted his own points, and had no choice but to come out of the Sea of Dazzling Light. In the following years, Yi Tian used his position to continuously earn points, and after accumulating some points, he went to the Sea of Glare to practice. However, the improvement of cultivation base is too difficult. Even if the Sea of Dazzling Light is the most suitable place to improve his cultivation, he can only speed up his cultivation by tens of thousands of times. Later, Yi Tian's rate of earning points was much slower, so he didn't go to the Sea of Glare. It's still a little short of the late 8th level ancestor, unless there are enough points to continue practicing in the Sea of Dazzling Light for the tens of trillions of years of the original era. There is hope to improve your cultivation to the later stage of the 8th level ancestor. Yi Tian estimated. On the other side, Yi Tian's experiment has made a new progress in the red light area of the soul-splitting forbidden area. During this period of time, Yi Tian did not give up research. And as his cultivation reached the middle stage of the eightfold primitive ancestor, and his body became stronger and stronger, he came to the place where the splitting soul red light area and the flame area meet, and experimented here. He used the eternal flint to try to control the flame in the flame area to temper his body, so that the body could adapt to the flame in the flame area, so that he could step into the flame area and not burn to ashes. At the beginning, he did fail again and again, and he couldn't bear the temperature of the flame area at all. But as time passed, he gradually produced a little effect, the strength of his body increased, and his body developed resistance to the flames in the flame area under the tempering of the eternal flint. After a period of time, Yi Tian entered the flame area, and would not be burned to ashes in an instant, but could persist for a few breaths of time. It's a good start, proving that he's experimenting in the right direction. Therefore, he continued to use the eternal flint and the flames in the flame area to temper his body, and he persisted in the flame area for longer and longer. 10 breaths, 20 breaths, 50 breaths. Gradually, Yi Tian was able to persist in the flame area for an hour without dying. You must know that the general 9-level ancestors can't last long when they enter the flame area, and Yi Tian's current cultivation level is only in the middle stage of the 8th-level ancestors. But after that, Yi Tian's tempering effect was not very good, and it has been maintained for about an hour, which seems to be his current limit. It's almost an hour, enough for me to explore the flame area for a long time. Maybe I can find a creature for me to copy. Yi Tian muttered. He entered the flame area for the purpose of replicating a creature, so that he could explore the flame area all the time. Then let's explore. 1. Yi Tian muttered. Exploring the flame area, his speed is very slow, and he is very careful. After all, even the shadow stone of the peak of the material level has been severely damaged here. His strength is nothing. If he is not careful, he will definitely die. However, he was too weak, and he might not attract any powerful creatures. Half an hour later, when Yi Tian passed through an area, a golden flame erupted, covering his body directly. Suddenly, his body turned to ashes. This test failed. Afterwards, Yi Tian copied his body again and entered the flame area to investigate again. Ask for flowers. In this way, Yi Tian failed again and again, and finally, on the 9th time, he found a suitable target with his copy talent. That's a bunch of fiery snakes. Yi Tian was pleasantly surprised. This group of fire snakes slept in the depths of a volcano, with different levels of strength. The most powerful ones were probably comparable to the 9-fold primordial ancestor or the formation level, but the weaker ones were only comparable to the middle 8th-fold primordial ancestor, which could just be copied by him. Boom! A fire snake comparable to the chemical level woke up, and found Yi Tian, and instantly shot. Yi Tian did not resist, and was instantly killed by the opponent. It's done. You can copy a fire snake, and then enter the flame area to probe. 1.0. Yi Tian immediately copied a fire snake in the middle stage of the 8-fold primitive ancestor, and then entered the flame area as a fire snake. This time, Yi Tian had a different feeling, as if he had returned home. The flames here did not hurt him in the slightest. This was the native advantage of the creatures in the flame area. With this fiery snake copying the body, Yi Tian can continue to search for suitable resources here. It has to be said that there are quite a few resources in the flame area, and many resources can be used to improve cultivation. This is the fire spirit golden marrow grass. This is an extremely rare resource. The outside world is almost extinct. There is no inventory of this treasure in the 9-story building, and it is only recorded in the inheritance materials. Yi Tian immediately collected the ascension grass, and then sent it out of the fire domain. In the days that followed, Yi Tian found one resource after another. The most precious resource is the immeasurable fire liquid, which was born in an immeasurable fire river. Yi Tian spent a lot of time extracting these immeasurable fire liquids from the immeasurable fire river. These immeasurable fire liquids and those resources are enough for Yi Tian to raise his cultivation base to the late 8th-level primordial ancestor or even the peak of the 8th-level primordial ancestor in a short period of time. Cut off the Xuanlu. The resources of boundless fire liquid and fire spirit golden marrow have all fallen into Yi Tian's hands. You can use these resources to practice cultivation. The stronger my cultivation base is, the stronger my strength will be. Yi Tian muttered about the corpse. Chapter 2269 Truncating the seal of the restricted area. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. With the help of immeasurable fire liquid and many resources, Yi Tian's cultivation has improved extremely fast, even many times faster than when he was cultivating in the Sea of Glare. After all, no matter how advanced the energy of the Sea of Dazzling Light is, it is far less than a resource like infinite fire liquid. Therefore, Yi Tian's cultivation level improved very quickly. At this speed, it won't take too long for his cultivation to break through to the late stage of the 8-fold primitive ancestor. In the blink of an eye, Yi Tian has practiced for hundreds of billions of years. At this time, he is already approaching the late stage of the original ancestor of the 8-fold, and is using a large amount of immeasurable fire liquid to impact the late stage of the original ancestor of the 8-fold. Boom! The bottleneck was broken, and Yi Tian's cultivation had entered the late stage of the 8th layer primitive ancestor. Breakthrough! Yi Tian was extremely excited. Now, 23, he clearly felt that his strength had skyrocketed, much stronger than before. Moreover, with the improvement of the cultivation base, the life level has improved a little, and the boundless will has also increased a little, which has led to the increase of the power of the boundless Taoism. Therefore, his overall strength skyrocketed. Subsequently, Yi Tian changed all the cloned bodies, and his cultivation had entered the late stage of the eightfold primitive ancestor, and he also copied a fire snake that was comparable to the late 8th layer primordial ancestor. In this way, the strength is slightly stronger, and it is more convenient to explore the flame area that cuts off the restricted area. Anyway, Yi Tian has gained a lot, and the resources on his body are accumulating more and more. Cut off restricted area, flame area. Above a red golden flame area, 3 giant mountain creatures gathered here. Soon, their body shapes changed, turning into 3 stone men, and the aura on their bodies was extremely terrifying. If Shadow Stone is still alive and still here, you can recognize that 2 of them are the mysterious creatures that hunted him down. These 3 creatures are the 3 to strengthen the creatures in this flame area, and the name divisions are called Qimu, Jinshan, and Shuihuang. Soon, Qimu opened his mouth and said, Jinshan, blood shortage, cut off the restricted area, there are more and more passages to the outside world, and the barriers of time and space are getting weaker and weaker, and we will have more days to get out of trouble. Yeah, those people from the outside world are too fast, affecting the seal that cuts off Montenegro. Otherwise, we can't promote this change. Unfortunately, it is still a bit difficult to loosen the seal and let me leave temporarily. There are a total of 38 people in the restricted area that have reached the enhanced rank. If we rush out, even in the outside world, no force will dare to provoke us. Blood Waste, you have contacted a top tribe of primitive antiquities, what's the plan? At this time, Shuihuang said, we got in touch, the top tribe also helped us break the seal, but the premise is that we need to pay a certain reward. 2 eternal flints, give 1 first, and then give another after the plan is completed. Akaji said. There was a little bug that broke into us before, and the other party seemed to have eternal flint on him. Unfortunately, when the power of the seal was at its strongest, we couldn't come down and let him escape. Otherwise, kill the other party, it would also be nice to get an extra eternal flint. After all, that guy escaped into the red light area of the split soul, that is the territory of the old soul, although the old soul is currently sealed in the depths of the cut-off source sea, but we can't break into his territory. Eternal flint is useless to us, if we lose it, we will lose it, and we still need to ensure that the plan is completed. At this moment, in the depths of the flame area in the cut-off restricted area, time and space cracked open, and another crack appeared. And there have been dense cracks here, and such cracks will appear every once in a while. Akaji saw this new crack, and his heart was full of expectations. It won't be long before this place will be completely shattered, maybe it will be connected to the silent Black Sea, or it may be connected to the original ancient sea. 1. The original ancient sea, 9 Wings tribe. This is one of the original ancient tribes, and it is also a top big tribe, even stronger than the Mingsheng tribe, ranking among the top 3 tribes of the original ancient sea. The 9 Wings tribe has 5 to strengthen the existence, the strength is extremely terrifying. No one would have imagined that the 9 Wings tribe had been linked in a special way with the blood shortage in the flame area of the truncation zone. This day, the 5 members of the 9 Wings tribe are having a meeting. Do you really want to help truncate the restricted area and break the seal? Naturally, we need to help them break the seal. After all, they offered 2 eternal flints as a reward. If we are lucky, it will be enough for us to give birth to 2 to strengthen objects. But once you help them break the seal, there may be some changes. The truncated Montenegro is very mysterious. According to ancient information, the truncated Montenegro appeared before the practitioners have fully risen. At that time, our original antiquities did not rise. The primordial ancient sea was still the era when primordial mythical beasts were in power. The entire truncation of Montenegro is a seal. The reason for the scarcity of creatures in the truncation penalty area is also because of the seal. Once the seal is broken, the number of creatures in the truncation penalty area will probably be very large. At that time, I'm afraid it will bring some trouble to our original ancient sea. Trouble is trouble. As long as our 9 Wings tribe has more and more to strengthen the level, we don't have to be afraid to cut off the restricted area. And there are really many good things to cut off the restricted area. With such a small treasure as the cut-off restricted area, the number of creatures is also very rare, actually cultivated so many to strengthen the object level. If the seal is broken, then the suppression of the restricted area on us outsiders will also dissipate a lot. When they can come out, we can also enter to find resources, this is not must be a bad thing. Then do it. After a period of time, the 9 Wings tribe sent a top-level chemical level clansman into the flame area that cut off the restricted area in 5.9, and brought back an eternal flint from the flame area. Subsequently, The Nine Wings tribe began to arrest the primitive antiquities on a large scale, and wiped out several small tribes. In total, they seized hundreds of millions of primitive antiquities and more than a dozen of them, and prepared to sacrifice them, and then used the large formation to cooperate to cut off the restricted area. The internal to strengthen the material level, thereby blasting the space-time barrier in a region, thereby causing the collapse of the entire seal section. In this way, the truncated restricted area and the Nine Wings tribe are ready. This day, they began to formally implement this plan, and the top powers of the Silent Black Sea and other tribes of primordial antiquities were still not clear about this matter. And Yi Tian, who was at the junction of the soul-splitting red light and the flame area, didn't know about this. Chapter 2270 The truncation restricted area was broken. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Truncate a place deep in Montenegro. Here, an ancient nest emerged, and then densely packed primitive relics appeared inside the ancient nest. The cultivation bases of these primitive antiquities are high and low. The densely packed primitive relics almost occupied the entire inside of the ancient nest, and immediately came out from the inside of the ancient nest, and these primitive relics were completely controlled. Afterwards, they entered a large sacrificial formation. When enough primitive antiquities came over, the sacrificial formation started. Endless energy poured into the sacrificial formation, and at the same time, there were three to strengthen the material level powerhouse shot, using this energy to bombard the space-time barriers that cut off the restricted area. These three to strengthen the object level or the three to strengthen the object level of the Nine-Wing tribe, also sneaked in here, just to help cut off the to strengthen the object level creatures in the restricted area. Boom! In response to the combination of the inside and the outside, all the creatures that cut off the restricted area to the enhancement level also shot. The timing of their selection was very good. During this period, they were not suppressed by the seal of truncating the restricted area, so they could exert almost all their strength. A sovereign reinforcement 29 shot, so that the entire truncation penalty area was shaken. What happened? Yi Tian was a little shocked. He felt that the entire truncation forbidden area was shaking, and the breath of the reinforcement level powerhouse diffused and could not be concealed at all. He is very clear that this is definitely a sign of a strong person at the level of the strongest level or the level of the original ancestor of the strong ninefold, and it doesn't seem to be one. In other words, there is absolutely something wrong with the truncation of the restricted area. In addition, Yi Tian's other duplicate bodies also sensed this shock in the truncation mountain range. Both the truncation restricted area and the truncation of Montenegro outside the truncation restricted area have traces of this kind of attack at the enhanced level at the same time, which is absolutely unimaginable. The first time, Shi Zhuan Daozu came out from the cut-off Xuanlu, but he did not dare to investigate, but immediately notified the original ancestors of the nine-layered building. When it comes to the matter of strengthening the material level powerhouse, he can't solve the problem even if he goes, and he will fall if he is not careful. Shi Zhuan Daozu, what is going on here? Yi Tian asked. The Taoist primordial stone said, it is the powerhouse with the highest level of reinforcement that is attacking the time and space barriers that cut off the restricted area, and I feel the unimaginable energy and the life breath of countless primitive antiquity. According to my inference, there is the level of reinforcement that makes countless. This is what happens when the original antiquities are sacrificed. Sacrificing countless primitive antiquities. Why is this? Yi Tian was a little puzzled. What's the point of attacking the restricted area? At this time, Shi Zhuan Daozu made a guess. Actually, there has always been a rumor in the Silent Black Sea, that the interception of Montenegro is a seal, and the interception of the restricted area is sealed by the interception of Montenegro. Therefore, the interception of the restricted area is a seal. Those creatures can't get out. Now there is a time-space barrier that can cut off the restricted area with an enhanced material level attack, perhaps breaking the seal. Yi Tian immediately understood that this matter was really serious, and they couldn't intervene, so they could only wait for the arrival of the nine-layered building and the original ancestors of the other top powers. Cut off the restricted area. The space-time barrier is collapsing, and at the moment when the space-time barrier is broken, a sealing barrier emerges. Under the combined attack of many to strengthen the level and the sacrifice of a large number of primitive antiquities, a position of this sealing barrier began to crack. Quick! It must be broken as soon as possible, otherwise the plan will fail if those Xeon 9th level ancestors of the Silent Black Sea interfere. Finally, after a few breaths, a small piece of sealing barrier was completely broken, forming a huge passage. The moment the seal was broken, a supremely enhanced creature came out of the forbidden area, and the violent aura seemed to cover the entire Black Mountain in an instant. My Akagi finally came out of the truncation penalty area. A loud laugh spread all over the territory. Countless creatures in the truncated region and the vast sea region seemed to have heard it. Boulder Tribe. Those high-strength creatures that cut off the forbidden area came out. Bloodstone trembled. The Boulder Tribe is nearby, and it is naturally very close to the cut-off restricted area. If those creatures can come out, it will be a huge threat to the Boulder Tribe. If these creatures want to occupy a piece of land, their megalithic tribe will be destroyed in an instant. Near the cut-off Xuanlu, several original ancestors of the 9-layered building appeared, including Dongchen Daozu. Dongchen Daozu, Qingchen Daozu, Belong Daozu. Shi Zhuan Daoist said respectfully. Dongchen Daozu nodded slightly, then stared at the restricted area and sighed. It's a step late. I didn't expect that the fortified beings in the restricted area would actually cooperate with the 9-wing tribe of the original ancient sea. The 9-wing tribe offered countless sacrifices, primitive antiquities, and then dispatched 3 to strengthen the object-level powerhouse, to help cut off the restricted area to break a small piece of seal. Let this group of to strengthen the object come out from the cut-off restricted area. Although the seal has not been completely broken, but for their repression is not much, and they can come and go freely. Belong Daozu said. It can't be changed now. I hope these creatures who cut off the restricted area don't mess around, otherwise a war will be inevitable. These strong 203 people are not primitive antiquities, they are just special creatures, and the number is rare. They shouldn't fight with us. It's no good to fight with us. Who knows if this group will be crazy? Soon, more than a dozen of the original ancestors of the Xeon 9th layer of the Silent Black Sea came, and they were all nearby. Truncated near the restricted area. Camu, Shuihuang and Zhouzhang have turned into cow noodles. One of the 9-wing tribes to the enhancement level said, Blood waste, we have completed the task, and the remaining eternal flint, give it to us. 1. Shuihuang threw an eternal flint at random and said, give it to you. 1. After the 9-wings tribe obtained the eternal flint, they immediately retreated. There are only 3 of them at the enhanced level, and there are more than 3 in the restricted area, but 38. What a terrifying number. The number of Xeon 9th layer ancestors combined by many major forces in the Silent Black Sea is only a few dozen, although it is more than the truncated restricted area, but not too much. But how big is the Silent Black Sea, and how big is the restricted area? There is no comparison at all. That is to say, the fortified objects of the original antiquities are not in the Silent Black Sea, so they do not worry about cutting off the restricted area. But the original ancestors of the Xeon 9th layer of the Silent Black Sea are worried. After all, everyone is above the Silent Black Sea. Chapter 2271 Yitian and Hash039, S Thoughts. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Not long after, Dongchen Daozu and more than a dozen Xeon 9th level ancestors came into contact with those high-level powerhouses who cut off the restricted area. Dongchen Daozu and the others didn't want to fight against this group of super-strengthened material-level powerhouses, otherwise everyone would suffer heavy losses, but they would only cheapen those primitive antiquities in the primitive ancient sea. Therefore, what they want is peace. At this time, Akagi spoke with the practitioner as a representative. At this time, Akagi said, Cultivators of the Silent Black Sea, we cut off the restricted area and do not want to fight with you. You can rest assured that we will not attack you, but you are not allowed to step into the restricted area from now on. When Dongchen Daozu heard this, he breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, they didn't dare to enter the restricted area, and all the ancestors who had entered before were killed. Moreover, the truncation of the restricted area suppressed them a lot. Even if the seal was broken a little, the suppression would no longer be great, but there were many strong people who could truncate the restricted area. Therefore, they will not go in to take risks in the future, there is no need for that. It is good, Dongchen Daozu and the others agreed. Akagi added, in addition, if the creatures in our truncation restricted area leave the truncation restricted area, they must not deliberately intercept them. No problem, Dongchen Daozu and the others also agreed. Subsequently, Akagi discussed the transaction of resources with the major forces. After all, some resources are useless to cut off these special creatures in the restricted area, but they are of great help to practitioners. And some resources are not so effective for practitioners, but they are very effective for these special creatures. Thus, they can trade with each other. In this way, this matter has passed, and there is no conflict between the two sides, which makes those primitive antiquities of the Silent Black Sea a little pity. They still want to see the two sides fight, and it is best to lose both, that would be great. The ultimate reinforcements that cut off the restricted area came out of the restricted area. Yi Tian was a little shocked when he knew this information. Fortunately, no conflict broke out, otherwise the truncation restricted area will be broken. Due to the truncation of the forbidden area, Zhou Zhongguo dispatched a Xian Zhouzhong original ancestor to sit in the truncation of the Xuanlu, which can be regarded as staring at the truncated forbidden area. And this coming Xian 9th layer ancestor is Dongchen Daozu. With Dongchen Daozu here, at least the Dao ancestors who cut off the Xuanlu will feel a lot more at ease, otherwise there is such a terrifying and powerful cut-off restricted area around, anyone will be afraid and worried. At the same time, those who have cut off the restricted area to strengthen the powerhouse have gathered together, and are also discussing things in the future. Akaji, Jin Shan, Shui Huang, and other to strengthen objects have all come out, of which Akaji's strength can be vaguely ranked in the top few. Of course, the most powerful ones in the cut-off restricted area to the enhanced level are Soul Lao and Jellyfish. However, Hun Lao was too powerful and was suppressed by the cut-off restricted area for some special reasons, so he had very little free time, so he simply fell asleep at cut-off Yuanai. The jellyfish is due to racial reasons, coupled with the reason of practice, so the temperament is very violent, and only the old soul can suppress the opponent. Therefore, this time the plan did not let the jellyfish preside over it, otherwise there would definitely be problems. Now that the plan is completed and the seal is broken, they will have fewer restrictions in the future, and they can even leave the restricted area at critical moments to avoid being sealed. At this moment, Old Soul also came out and presided over this meeting. As soon as Hun Lao appeared on the stage, he said, "Although the restricted area has broken a little seal, we should not provoke the enemy for now, so we should not conflict with the Silent Black Sea and the original Ancient Sea. Although everyone usually has some conflicts, I hope that in the future let's unite, otherwise, if the outside forces are attacked one by one in the future, the end of the restricted area will come. Also, don't think about completely destroying the Montenegro, understand? Why not completely destroy and truncate Montenegro?" Bloody asked. In fact, before cooperating with the Nine Wings tribe, the Old Soul awakened once. Although he agreed to the plan, he demanded that the Black Mountain should not be completely destroyed. But they don't know the exact reason. However, the Old Soul is the most powerful person in the restricted area, to the level of enhancement, and also the oldest existence. Soul Lao Dao. I can't say the specific reasons, but once the Montenegro is completely destroyed, there will be a catastrophe and we will all risk falling. Akaji and the others knew that Old Soul would not joke, so nodding their heads would not destroy and cut off Montenegro. In fact, they are also very difficult to destroy truncated Montenegro. After all, they cooperated with the Nine Wings tribe to break a little seal, and the entire truncated Montenegro is part of the seal. It is much more difficult to destroy the entire truncated Montenegro. In the following years, one by one that cut off the restricted area to the enhanced level began to develop their own races. Because the seal of the restricted area was broken a little, the rules of the restricted area were also changed, and the number of races in the restricted area began to increase. At this time, Yi Tian kept a low profile, and did not practice as before, otherwise it would be easy to be discovered. After a period of quiet time passed, a creature of the enhanced material level began to retreat and practice, and the situation began to stabilize. So, Yi Tian looked for resources in the flame area again. His fiery snake replica body is exactly the same as the real fiery snake, so even if he encounters the three powerhouses of Qimu, Jin Shan, and Shui Huang, it will not be exposed. Time flies, and long years pass. Perhaps the seal of the restricted area was broken a little, causing the restricted area to grow faster, and it seemed that more mysterious substances flowed into the restricted area. At this speed, it will not take long for the truncated restricted area to become a real zone-level area boundary. And Yi Tian used the fire snake to collect more resources, but his strength is not strong, and many resources in the flame area have also been collected. Practitioner trade. Therefore, Yi Tian can obtain less and less resources. More importantly, some resources absorb too much, and the effect will get worse and worse. If he wants to improve his cultivation more quickly, he must find new resources. I have to go and find other places in the truncation restricted area. Yi good enough Tian murmured. During this period of time, Yi Tian also had a certain understanding of the truncation of the restricted area. For example, the place with the most resources in the truncation of the restricted area was the truncation of the Source Sea, which was also the most central area of the truncation of the restricted area. However, the interception of the Source Sea is also very strong, and it is also the most terrifying place for the sealing force of the interception restricted area. The creatures in the interception restricted area dare not enter the interception deep sea, otherwise they will be sealed if they are not careful. Rumor has it that the ancestor of the soul-splitting red beast, Soul Lao, was forcibly sealed in the depths of the cut-off source sea by the rules of the cut-off restricted area because it was too powerful and could only come out occasionally. Of course, that was before, not now. Now, even if Soul Lao and other powerhouses at the enhanced item level really enter the truncated origin sea and are sealed, they can still come out. But once Yi Tian enters, then 100% cannot come out. I don't need to come out, I can find a way to send a human replica body in, as long as I can improve my cultivation in it, I don't need to come out. Yi Tian thought to himself. Chapter 2272 Sneak into the truncated source sea. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. If you cut off the source sea from the flame area, there is another area, that is the dark area of death. The dark realm of death also has to strengthen the material level powerhouse, and that area has extremely terrifying corrosion. Even with Yi Tian's strength, he couldn't last long. Of course, if you find a creature in the dark realm of death and copy it, then you can survive in the dark realm of death. Hey, the degree of corrosion in the dark realm of death has been reduced. Yi Tian was surprised. Before, he also came to the dark realm of death, but he didn't last long, and was corroded by the dark realm of death. But now, it can't corrupt him at all. In fact, the power of the flame in the flame area is also greatly reduced, but the one he copied is a fire snake, so he can't feel it. Soon, Yi Tian wanted to understand. The reason why the environment of the truncated restricted area is so bad is mainly caused by the seal. It's just that the races here have evolved over the long years and gradually adapted to the environment here, so the body can be immune to the damage caused by the environment. But outsiders are not immune, so it can't last long. 203 is different now, the seal has been broken a little, which has caused a kind of power to dissipate a little, whether it is the red light of the split soul or the flame area, or the dark area of death in front of you, the outsider's damage is greatly reduced. Yi Tian thought to himself. He felt that even a half-step nine-fold original ancestor could stick to it here. Therefore, he can withstand the damage of the dark realm of death. This is a good thing for him, he can fully use the power of the immeasurable Tao domain to protect himself, so as to sneak slowly here. So, Yi Tian entered the dark realm of death as a fire snake. Although the strength of the fire snake's copy body is much weaker, it can barely hold up. He tried his best to restrain his breath, and slowly searched for life in the dark realm of death. Because the seal has been broken a little, the dark domain of death has recently given birth to many new beings, but many of them are too weak to be copied. However, in order to prevent encountering danger, Yi Tian immediately annihilated this fire snake body after sensing the life. Afterwards, he copied a death CJFJ life in the dark realm of death at the level of the sevenfold original ancestor, and then entered the dark realm of death. In this way, the risk of exposure is eliminated. In this way, he can continue to search for other life suitable for replication. It didn't take long for Yi Tian to find a dead dark ape whose strength was comparable to that of the late 8th level primitive ancestor, the dead dark ape. Then, Yi Tian copied the dark ape of death. He was not in a hurry to cut off the source sea, and planned to spend some time in the dark realm of death to find some resources and then cut off the source sea. Blackthorn lotus, Wuling shadow fruit, flowing black liquid. Yi Tian gradually found a lot of good things, and most of these things can be used to improve the will, and even have an effect on the infinite will. Although Yi Tian has condensed immeasurable will, his immeasurable will is very weak. According to the division of the immeasurable will by the Zhouzhanglo, the lowest one is the immeasurable will of 1 scale, and his immeasurable will has only reached the level of 1.5 scales. And the immeasurable will of the original ancestor of the ninefold, the weakest, can reach 3 or more, and after practicing for a period of time, the boundless will of the ancestor of the ninefold can reach more than 10 scales. The stronger the infinite will, the stronger the infinite Tao domain. Seeing that there are so many resources in the dark realm of death that can enhance the infinite will, Yi Tian plans to stay here for a while longer. In this way, Yi Tian used the resources of the dark realm of death to enhance his boundless will. Gradually, Yi Tian's boundless will began to begin. 1.6 scale, 1.8 scale, 2 scales, 3 scales. Yi Tian's immeasurable will is getting stronger and stronger, the immeasurable Tao domain is getting stronger and stronger, and the strength is getting more and more terrifying. However, soon, there will be material-level powerhouses in the dark realm of death to collect these resources, perhaps even the enhanced material level cannot be looked down upon, but ordinary material-level creatures will collect these resources and trade with practitioners. It is difficult to collect resources that can enhance the infinite will, and even many places that are rich in these resources are occupied by those chemical-level creatures. It is impossible for me to go to their territory to collect resources. 1. Yi Tian thought helplessly. So, he was going to cut off the source C immediately. This day, Yi Tian used the clone body of the dark ape of death to sneak across the dark domain of death with his own human clone body. Fortunately, those who reached the enhanced item level did not peep at the dark ape of death at the original 8th level ancestor level. Thus, Yi Tian successfully crossed the dark realm of death. Then, he entered the truncated source C from the dark domain of death. As soon as he entered the cut-off source C, layers of seal blessings came, and he couldn't sense the location of the dark realm of death. At this moment, he was completely trapped in the cut-off source C. Of course, Yi Tian didn't panic at all. He came here to practice, as long as he could improve his strength. What a strong energy! Yi Tian couldn't help sighing. Although he was trapped in the truncated origin C, even if he was a normal object level or the ninefold primordial ancestor, he couldn't rush out, but the energy here was indeed far beyond any treasure he had ever seen before. Truncating the source C seems to be a kind of ocean that is purely liquefied by high-level energy. The suppression here is terrifying. Even Yi Tian's current strength will become very weak here. It can be considered that the cultivation of these seawater energy is much faster than the outside world. Start looking for resources, Yi Tian secretly said. Afterwards, he dived into the bottom of the truncated source C. He didn't have any information about the truncated origin C. He only knew that it was a place of sealing in an energy center. The resources here were very rich, but it was difficult to get out. And there will also be danger here, and the possibility of death is very high. Soon, Yi Tian found an incomparably precious resource on the bottom of the cut-off source C. What resource is this? Yi Tian looked at the blue crystal in front of him. He couldn't recognize this resource. It should be the unique resource of truncating yuan. Immediately, he grabbed a blue crystal and absorbed the energy inside. Boom! Terrifying energy poured into Yi Tian's body, frantically tempering his body and improving his cultivation. It can be used to improve the cultivation base, and it can also temper the body, which has the effect of improving the level of life. Yi Tian said in surprise. Chapter 2273 The Peak of the 8th Original Ancestor. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. This blue crystal is an unimaginable treasure for Yi Tian, and there seem to be quite a few here. With these blue crystals alone, he has the hope of raising his cultivation base to the peak of the 8th-fold primitive ancestor. Let's practice here first, Yi Tian muttered. In the following years, Yi Tian used these blue crystals to cultivate. As time passed, his cultivation continued to improve, his life level continued to improve, and his physical body became stronger and stronger. This kind of cultivation speed is incomparable to the outside world. According to this speed, he only needs hundreds of billions of yuan era. I am afraid that there is hope to improve to the peak of the 8th-fold yuanzu. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of billions of years have passed. Finally, we have reached the pinnacle of the original ancestor of Ye. Yi Tian said excitedly. It was beyond his expectations to be able to cultivate to the peak of the 8th layer primitive ancestor so quickly. At present, his cultivation base has reached the limit of the 8th level ancestor, and the next step is the half-step 9th level ancestor realm. It takes even longer to advance from the peak of the 8th level ancestor to the half-step 9th level ancestor realm. Yi Tian will not consider attacking the half-step 9-fold original ancestral realm at present, but he can still cultivate in the cut-off source C, improve his life level, even temper his body, and improve his boundless will. Leave here first, and cut off other parts of yuan to find resources. Yi Tian muttered. He knew that his cloned body would never be able to get out of the source C, so he would not collect these blue crystals and left immediately. In the days that followed, Yi Tian kept looking for various resources that could improve his cultivation, but he couldn't look at it. Although it was a pity to discard it, he couldn't go out, so he could only choose this way. This day, Yi Tian finally found a treasure that could greatly enhance his will. That is a kind of black liquid, which can integrate the black liquid into the boundless will, so as to continuously refine the boundless will. A drop of black liquid is enough to increase Yi Tian's boundless will by 0.01, which is already a very exaggerated increase. Of course, this is the current increase. If more black liquor is refined, the effect will definitely get worse and worse. There is a lot of black liquid in this area, let's practice here first. Yi Tian began to retreat and practice in this area, refining a drop of this special black liquid. Immediately, his boundless will began to slowly improve. Before, his infinite will was raised to the level of 3.3 scale, but now with the help of the black liquid, his infinite will gradually began to reach the level of 4 scale. Years passed, Yi Tian's boundless will gradually increased to the level of 5 scales. At this time, the black liquid in this area was consumed by him. Got somewhere else. Yi Tian sneaked slowly and finally found more black liquid in another area. So, he continued to practice in this area to improve his boundless will. Afterwards, he consumed all the black liquid in this area and raised his boundless will to 7.5. After 180 billion years of the original era, the infinite will has reached the 15.8 scale. Yi Tian said very excitedly. Now, his boundless will has surpassed the ninefold primitive ancestor who had just broken through and stabilized. After all, if the ordinary ancestor of the 9 layers has just broken through, the limitless will only be 3 scales, and the realm will be stable. After a period of cultivation, it can only be raised to 10 scales. But now, his boundless will has reached the 15.8 scale, which is already a little bit higher, but much higher. However, at his current level of boundless will, a drop of black liquid has little use in enhancing boundless will. This is not because the black liquid is of low grade, but because of the limitation of his cultivation. If an ancestor of the 9 layers came here and used these black liquids to cultivate, the boundless will increase would definitely be very high, and even if the boundless will reached several hundred marks, refining the black liquid would still be effective. However, Yi Tian's cultivation was only at the peak of the 8th layer primitive ancestor, so his cultivation restricted his boundless will, and being able to raise it to 15.8 was already a black liquid effect. Even if you refine a large amount of black liquor, the maximum increase that can be made is 1 tick, which doesn't make much sense. Yi Tian muttered. For flowers, he decided to wait for his cultivation base to improve to the realm of the 9-fold original ancestor, and then he had to come here to practice. If possible, he even plans to seal a duplicate body here. In this way, if the cultivation base breaks through to the 9-fold primordial ancestor in the future, he can directly copy the cloned body of the 9-fold primordial ancestor level here. Next, we can look for treasures that can improve the level of life. Yi Tian decided. It didn't take long for Yi Tian to successfully find a red algae plant, and swallowing this plant could enhance his life level. As a result, Yi Tian's life level also began to improve. Originally, his life level could be raised to a level close to 70, but now with the help of this algae plant, his life level has been continuously improved and soon surpassed 70.0. After a long time passed, Yi Tian raised his life level to above 80. However, after the 80s, it is too difficult to improve the level of life, which is also restricted by the cultivation base, which makes it difficult to improve the level of life. The infinite will is 15.8 scale, the life level is 81, and the physical body is constantly tempered, and it has almost reached the limit. Now I have almost no way to enter the peak realm of the 8-fold primitive ancestor. Yi Tian knew that he didn't need to stay in the 8th level ancestor realm any longer, it was meaningless, he needed to hit the 9th level ancestor realm by half a step. It is still very difficult to hit the half step from the peak of the 8th level ancestor to the realm of the 9th level ancestor. First of all, it is necessary to integrate the Daohua of life and Daohua of Yuan Dao. You must reach the degree of integration before you can break the shackles, advance to the half-step 9-fold primitive ancestor realm, and if you reach a 100% degree of fusion, you will not be able to attack the 9-fold primordial ancestor. Only qualified, but the success rate depends on the foundation. For example, for those Taoist ancestors who only have the 8-fold Yuan Dao Daohua and the 8-fold life Taoist flower, if they want to become the 9-fold primordial ancestor, the probability is almost non-existent. Of course, it is not that there is no hope. If there are enough precious resources, it is still possible to force a half-step 9-level ancestor with insufficient potential to become a 9-level ancestor. But such resources are too rare and precious, enough for forces like Zhouzhanglo to fight and kill corpses for this. Chapter 2274 Self-Created Daohua Fusion Technique. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. It's not easy to make my 9-layer life Daohua and 9-fold Yuan Daoist fuse. Yi Tian muttered. However, in order to break through the realm of the half-step 9-fold original ancestor, he must fuse. Compared with other peak Dao ancestors of the 8-fold primordial ancestor, he has an immeasurable Dao domain, so he can speed up the fusion process, and he will not spend endless years to overcome this bottleneck like other peak 8-fold primordial ancestors. Cut off the Xuanlu. Yi Tian began to retreat and practice, and 2 flowers appeared on his body, one was the flower of the 9-fold life, and the other was the flower of the 9-fold Yuan Dao. The two Dao flowers began to slowly merge in the void, and the process was too slow. The immeasurable Dao domain was condensed, and then the two Dao flowers were forcibly merged, so that the speed of fusion was suddenly accelerated many times. This kind of fusion can hardly be aided by resources, and at least no resources have been found to speed up this fusion process before the 203. At least it takes more than 300 trillion years of the original era before I can hope to fuse the two Dao flowers to more than 30%. Yi Tian estimated. His cultivation speed has always been fast, but this time it took so long to break a shackle. However, his speed was already terrifying, and it would be too difficult to speed up his cultivation. More than 300 trillion years of the original era, this is too time-consuming. Yi Tian said helplessly. Therefore, he wanted to ask the other Taoist ancestors of the 9-layer building to see if they had the experience of quickly breaking through to the half-step 9-layer primitive ancestor. The first person Yi Tian consulted was Ju Sword Dao Ancestor, but Ju Sword Dao Ancestor also relied on endless years to slowly overcome this shackle. After becoming the half-step 9-fold original ancestor, the speed of fusion of the two kinds of Daohua will soar. But before that, there is really no good way. Afterwards, he also consulted some other half-step 9-fold ancestors, but there was no good solution. This day, Yi Tian asked Daozu Dongchen, the original ancestor of the 9-level Xian who was guarding and cutting off the Xuanlu. He didn't expect the other party to give an answer. In the end, Daozu Dongchen really answered and gave a seemingly unlikely suggestion. Create your own Taohua fusion technique. Every Taoist ancestor's flower of life is different from the flower of Yuan Dao, especially the flower of Yuan Dao is completely different. After all, his own Yuan Dao is different. Therefore, the process of fusion cannot be completely the same. Even if a powerhouse like Dongchen Daozu possesses several techniques of flower fusion, it is not suitable for Yi Tian. But if Yi Tian created the Dao flower fusion technique, it would speed up the fusion process. However, it is simply too difficult to create a fusion technique of Dao and flowers. Even if the peak Dao ancestors of the eightfold primitive ancestor want to try it, they may only need so much time to break through, but they waste more time. There is no way to create it. Moreover, there may be certain risks in creating this Daohua fusion technique. For example, if you damage your own Daohua, you may need to pay a higher price to repair your own Daohua, which is a bit of a loss. I'll try to create my own Dao flower fusion technique first. If there is really no hope of success, I'll give up. 1. Yi Tian decided. So, he began to boldly try to create his own Daohua fusion technique. Compared with the other peak Taoist ancestors of the Eightfold Ancestor, his advantage is that he dares to try and study it casually, and he is not afraid of damaging his own Taoist flower. The big deal is to copy a body again. Afterwards, Yi Tian began to research frantically. It didn't take long for Yi Tian's Life Dao flower and Yuan Dao Dao flower to have problems. However, he recreated the replica body and continued to do so. Under Yi Tian's almost crazy research, he still researched something, so he saw the hope of success in his own Dao flower fusion technique. So, Yi Tian spent more than 100 billion years of the original era, and finally successfully created a flower fusion technique. This kind of Daohua fusion technique was named by Yi Tian as the Juju fusion technique. After Yi Tian's attempts, the Juju fusion technique could accelerate the fusion speed of the Life Daohua and the Yuan Daohua by 30,000 times. Originally, Yi Tian needed 3 trillion Yuan dynasty years to hope to fuse the 9-level Life Dao flower and the 9-level Yuan Dao Dao flower to more than 30%, breaking through to a half-step 9-level primordial ancestor. But now, with the help of the Juji fusion technique, he only needs 10 billion years of the original era to successfully fuse the Zhejiang Life Daohua and the Zhejiang Yuan Dao Daohua to more than 30%. As expected of the Dao flower fusion technique, it can actually speed up my practice by 30,000 times. Yi Tian was extremely excited. Immediately, he used the 9-pole fusion technique to cooperate with the immeasurable Taoist cultivation to accelerate the fusion of his 9-level Yuan Dao Daohua and 9-level Life Daohua. Before you know it, the 10 billion Yuan era has passed. This day, Yi Tian's 9-fold Yuan Dao Dao flower and 9-layer Life Daohua successfully merged into the 30% realm. At this time, Yi Tian clearly sensed a shackle, which was the shackle that prevented him from becoming the original ancestor of the half-step 9-layer. Now, he seems to be able to break this shackle with just one shock. Immediately, Yi Tian hit the shackles. After merging 30% of the 9-level Yuan Dao Daohua and the 9-level Life Daohua, with the help of the power of the two types of Daohua, he easily shattered the shackles. Boom! Yi Tian's cultivation has broken through, reaching the realm of the half-step ninefold original ancestor. Endless energy poured into Yi Tian's body, and it took him a long time to truly stabilize his realm. Cut off the Xuanlu. Daozu Dongchen sensed Yi Tian's breakthrough and was a little surprised. The infinite Dao ancestor has broken through to become the ninefold primordial ancestor. Even if he has condensed the infinite Dao domain, the speed of this breakthrough is too fast. When Dongchen Daozu thought that Yi Tian had asked himself how to quickly fuse the Dao flower of life and Dao flower of Yuan Dao, he casually said the technique of Dao Hua fusion. Mo Wuong Daozu created the art of Dao fusion by himself. Only this kind of 5.9 ability can make Yi Tian break through to the half-step 9 level ancestor so quickly. If this is the case, the endless Dao ancestor will pass through the stage of the half-step 9-fold original ancestor very quickly. I am afraid that it will not be too long before he will become the 9-fold original ancestor. Dongchen Daozu said expectantly. Cut off the source C. Yi Tian copied the half-step 9-fold original ancestral realm replica body here, and replaced the original replica body. In this way, Yi Tian is cutting off the copy body of Yuan I, which is the half-step 9-fold original ancestor. And he just broke through not long ago. The realm is not stable, and he can use the blue crystal to stabilize the realm and improve his cultivation. He can even use those blue crystals to raise the cultivation base to the limit of the half-step 9-fold primitive ancestor, saving countless hours of ascetic cultivation. Chapter 2275 Prepare to attack the 9 ancestors. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Sure enough, these blue crystals worked on me even more. Yi Tian said in surprise after refining a blue crystal. He had already refined a lot of blue crystals before, but at that time his cultivation base was at the peak of the 8-fold primitive ancestor, and continuing to refine it would have no effect. But now, he has just broken through to the half-step 9-fold original ancestor, and he can refine blue crystals, and he has a higher degree of absorption of the energy contained in the blue crystals, so the effect is better. It didn't take long for Yi Tian's cultivation to be completely stable, and it was still increasing steadily. At this speed, it won't be long before he can improve his cultivation to the pinnacle of the half-step 9-fold ancestor. After stabilizing the realm, Yi Tian tested his boundless will. 16.5 scale. The infinite will has increased from the 15.8 scale to the 16.5 scale, and the improvement is very small, but the infinite will is the exclusive use of the 9-fold primordial ancestor. Therefore, from the peak realm of the 8-fold ancestor to the half-step 9-fold ancestor realm, the boundless will naturally not undergo 29 changes, and it is very good to be able to improve. What really makes Yi Tian happy is that his cultivation has broken through to the half-step 9-fold primitive ancestor realm, and he can continue to use the black liquid to temper the boundless will and enhance the strength of the boundless will. In the following days, Yi Tian began to use the black liquid to enhance his boundless will, and use the blue crystal to improve his own cultivation. When cutting off Xuanlu's duplicate body, he has been using the technique of infinite Dao domain and Zhu-Ji fusion to fuse his own 9-layer life Dao flower and 9-layer Yuan Dao Dao flower. After all, only by thoroughly integrating the 9-layer life Daohua and the 9-layer Yuan Dao Daohua can they be qualified to attack the 9-layer primordial ancestor. Gradually, hundreds of billions of years passed by. This day, Yi Tian tested his boundless will, and it has already reached 19 scales, and he can continue to improve. At this speed, his boundless will scale in the half-step 9-fold primitive realm can definitely reach 20 scales. The boundless will of 20 scales, this is already extremely terrifying, far surpassing the ordinary 9-fold ancestors. In addition, Yi Tian's cultivation has also improved greatly, gradually approaching the limit of the half-step 9-fold original ancestor. And Yi Tian's 9-layer life Dao flower and 9-layer Yuan Dao Dao flower were completely merged into 100% and turned into a Dao flower. It can be said that Yi Tian can attack the realm of the 9-fold primordial ancestor at any time. However, he will not attack for the time being. After all, he can continue to improve at the half-step 9-fold primordial ancestor level, and he will attack the 9-fold primordial ancestor after he cannot improve. In this way, when he enters the realm of the 9-fold ancestor, his strength will be improved even more. Cut off the restricted area. Today, something big happened here. Jellyfish are crazy. As a superpower of the strongest level after Soul Lao, jellyfish is a taboo existence in the restricted area. She has no clansmen. Strictly speaking, she once had clansmen, but they were all killed when she went mad. The jellyfish has a tyrannical temperament, and her practice is flawed. In addition, because of the truncation of the seal in the restricted area, she will be violent and crazy from time to time. The point is that there are no rules at all. Boom. At this moment, the aura of the jellyfish seemed to run through the entire restricted area, and areas were ravaged by her aura, and many areas were shattered by her violent aura. The jellyfish is crazy again. As for the old soul, only the old soul can stop her. Yeah, we must invite the old soul to come, we can't stop it, or we will be hit by jellyfish if we are not careful. At this moment, Soul Elder appeared and came to the jellyfish. Jellyfish, you should go and cut off the source sea for a while to calm down. Old Soul said. In the past, when the seal had not been broken, the jellyfish would be sealed in the truncated origin sea most of the time, so no matter how crazy they were in the truncated origin sea, it would not affect the truncated restricted area. But now, the impact of jellyfish going crazy in the truncated restricted area is too great. Moreover, if he does not stop the jellyfish, even if he enters the cut-off source sea with the strength of the jellyfish, he will easily come out. Therefore, he would forcefully pull the jellyfish into the restricted area, but personally suppress her and force her to stay in the restricted area. Boom. Soul Lao fought against the jellyfish a few times, letting the jellyfish calm down for a moment, but then pulled the jellyfish into the cut-off source sea. And as soon as they entered the cut-off source sea, the jellyfish began to go crazy again, and they had to forcibly rush out of the cut-off source sea. For this reason, Soul Lao can only attack the jellyfish, making it impossible to leave. Although their battle was terrifying, the power of the seal that cut off the source sea was too terrifying, so their destructive power here was not too exaggerated. Two supreme enhancements are fighting. Yi Tian was a little shocked. And the other party is constantly fighting here, and it doesn't matter if it affects him, but if he perceives his existence, it will be bad. Then, Yi Tian immediately annihilated his copy body, so that the other party would not be aware of his existence. It's safer this way, otherwise once you find yourself, you won't be able to continue diving into the sea of cutoff in the future. Yi Tian muttered. In the blink of an eye, another period of time passed. Yi Tian copied a dead dark ape and let the dead dark ape creature sneak into the cutoff source 203C to see the situation. As soon as he entered the cutoff source C, he sensed the violent aura of jellyfish. Although the opponent was not fighting, the situation remained the same. Not good. Seeing this, Yi Tian completely gave up on entering the practice of cutting off the source sea in the near future. Anyway, he is not far from the limit of the half-step ninefold original ancestor. Even if he does not cut off the cultivation of the source sea, he will just spend some more years of cultivation. Moreover, there are many treasures in the 9-story building, and if he uses it to cultivate, the speed of strength improvement will not be much slower. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, trillions of years have passed. A measurable will scale is 20.03, the cultivation base has reached the limit of the half-step 9-level ancestor, and the physical body can't continue to improve, and the 9-level life Daohua and the 9-level Yuan Daohua have also merged 10%. Now, I can't continue to improve. Now, we must break the shackles and achieve the realm of the 9 original ancestors. Yi Tian is very clear that with his own foundation and potential, it is very easy to become the ancestor of the 9 layers with an almost 100% success rate. Immediately, Yi Tian applied to attack the original ancestor of the 9 layers, preparing to practice in a treasured place of the ancestor of the 9 layers, and with the protection of the 9 layers building, the Taoist ancestor would not interfere with his breakthrough. The 9-story building quickly passed Yi Tian's application, allowing Yi Tian to enter the highest golden mountain of the 9-story tower to break through. Chapter 2276 Breakthrough, the original ancestor of the 9 layers. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. 9-story building, the highest Jinshan. The guarding force here is very strong. There is a Xeon 9-fold ancestor who has been in charge for a long time, and there are many 9-fold ancestors practicing here. It is directly connected to the source of the silent Black Sea, so the energy density is no less than cutting off the source sea. Yi Tian is also here for the first time. After all, he is not qualified to enter here at ordinary times. Only when he becomes the original ancestor of the 9 layers or is attacking the ancestor of the 9 layers, he is qualified to enter here. After entering the Supreme Golden Mountain, Yi Tian entered a space-time specially used for retreating and breaking through, and then began to retreat to impact the 9-fold primordial ancestor. The key to impacting the original ancestor of the 9 layers is to condense the Tao Flower of Will, but Tao Flower of Will is difficult to condense alone, so it needs to be condensed at the moment of breakthrough and integrated into Tao Flower of Life and Tao of Yuan Tao, thus forming 3 flowers in one. Form infinite flowers. It is precisely because of the immeasurable Daohua that even if the half-step ninefold primordial ancestor does not condense the boundless will be born immediately after becoming the ninefold primordial ancestor. Yi Tian has even condensed the boundless will, and has surpassed the ordinary ninefold ancestor, so it is very easy for him to condense the will. Yi Tian's will gradually turned into Daohua, and then merged into the life Daohua and Yuan Dao Daohua that had been perfectly integrated. Boom! The three kinds of Daohua quickly merged and gradually turned into infinite Daohua. This process is very fast. Before long, the infinite Dao flower was formed. At the same time, the shackles in the dark seemed to be broken when touched. Crack! The shackles of the Zhejiang ancestor were easily shattered by Yi Tian without encountering any difficulties. Then, Yi Tian's body began to transform, and his boundless will was also skyrocketing. Every moment, Yi Tian's breath is increasing, and his strength is skyrocketing at an incredible speed. The energy of the Supreme Golden Mountain swarmed and merged into Yi Tian's body, helping him to quickly complete his breakthrough. In the depths of the highest gold mountain, the endless Dao ancestor has broken through. A strong man at the pinnacle of the ninefold primitive ancestor said. Yeah, I didn't expect the endless Dao ancestor to break through to the realm of the ninefold primordial ancestor so quickly. This speed is too fast. I remember that it didn't take long for the endless Taoist ancestor to become the half-step 9th level ancestor, and he became the 9th level ancestor so quickly. I've only been in retreat for a long time, and I heard that the infinite Dao Patriarch was only in the 8th level original ancestor realm, but in a blink of an eye, the boundless Dao Patriarch came to the Supreme Golden Mountain and then became the 9th level primitive Patriarch. It's incredible. The endless Dao ancestor has now stepped into the ninefold primordial ancestor, and I don't know what level his strength has risen to. It should be comparable to the ordinary 9-layer primitive ancestor. After all, it has just broken through. How powerful can it be? However, with the growth rate of endless Daozu, he may soon surpass me. Yeah, the limit of my life level is 100, but the limit of life of the endless Taoist ancestor can exceed 100. After the level of life reaches 100, every step up is a transformation of the level of life. Just as these 9 ancestors were discussing, Yi Tian gradually stabilized his realm. It didn't take long for Yi Tian to leave the customs. First, he tested his boundless will. Soon, the results came out. 28.2 ticks. Seeing this result, Yi Tian was very excited. When the other 9 ancestors just broke through, the limitless will scale is only 3 scales, although it can be raised to 10 scales soon, but compared with him, it is far worse. Moreover, he has just made a breakthrough. In the next period of time, his boundless will can be easily improved, and he can definitely easily increase to more than 30, and it may even reach the level of 40. Not only that, Yi Tian's boundless will has also transformed, and his body has transformed, and his physical strength is at least dozens of times that of the past. In addition, his life level has also been greatly improved, directly reaching the level of 96. With just one breakthrough, Yi Tian's strength completely surpassed the past many times, enough to easily overwhelm the past self. With his current strength, the general Zhejiang Yuanzhu is far from his opponent, and he is already comparable to those old-fashioned Zhejiang Yuanzhu powerhouses. Breaking through to become the original ancestor of the 9 layers, I'm now at the top of the 9 layers building. Yi Tian muttered. No, not long after he broke through, the reward of the 9-story building came down. The first is a resource, each of the 9 ancestors has it, and these resources are enough for him to quickly cultivate for a period of time. Secondly, it was his appointment, which was chosen by Yi Tian himself. He can go to a certain building as the deputy landlord, or he can serve as a senior member in a certain sky building. Of course, Yi Tian can also continue to keep the position of the deputy owner of the truncation Xuanlu, which is his choice. After some consideration, Yi Tian still kept the position where he cut off the deputy master of Xuanlu. After all, even if you go to Tianlu, it is meaningless. He has become the original ancestor of the 9 layers, and he is already the high-rise of the 9 layers building. It is not helpful to go to any building. And with his growth rate, he will soon become the top executive of the 9-story building, a real chess player, so there is no need to care about this mere small position. And after becoming the original ancestor of the 9 layers, Yi Tian can practice in the Golden Mountain for a long time in the future, but he needs to pay points, which is why many ancestors of the 9 layers still earn points. However, it is very easy for Zhejiang Yuanzhu to earn points. For example, if you charge for preaching, you may earn hundreds of millions of points at one time, but there are not too many opportunities like that. Basically, it is arranged by Zhouzhanglo, and then you divide apart yourself, integral. Yi Tian was not in a hurry to go out for the time being, so he found a place in the Supreme Golden Mountain as his long-term cave residence, where he retreated to practice dragons. At the same time, Yi Tian also made friends with the other 9 ancestors of the 9 layers building here. In this way, time passed slowly, Yi Tian's cultivation became more and more diligent, his boundless will became stronger and stronger, and his life level became higher and higher. In the blink of an eye, tens of billions of years have passed. At this time, Yi Tian was using the resources rewarded by the 9 layers building to greatly improve his strength, and his life level had already reached 100, which was also the limit of the ordinary 9 layers primordial ancestor's life level. And his immeasurable will has also reached the 40 scale level. At this time, the scale of the will has gradually decreased a lot, and it is obviously the end of the rapid improvement period. I have to test my combat effectiveness. Yi Tian muttered. Chapter 2277 The fourth step. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. The combat power of the 9th level ancestor is also divided into several grades. Although Yi Tian is very powerful now, compared with the peak powerhouses of the 9th level ancestor like Shizhuan Daozu, it is far worse. And the 9 layers building has a place dedicated to testing the combat power of the 9 layers primordial ancestor, and that place is the Shishui Tianlu. The Shishui Tianlu has sealed many powerful primitive antiquities of the chemical grade. These chemical grades have already lost their senses, just like those ordinary primitive antiquities, they have no wisdom at all. You only need to fight with these primitive antiquities of the chemical level to verify your strength. And the combat power of the 9-fold ancestor can be divided into steps. For example, there are 5 ladders under the 9-fold original ancestor of the Xian, and the 9-fold original ancestors such as Shizhuan Daozu are the 9-fold original ancestor of the first ladder. The first ladder is the strongest, the second ladder is the second, and the 5th ladder is the 9-fold original ancestor. Ancestor is the weakest. In addition, the entire Silent Black Sea also has a list, which records the list of the first, second, and third steps. As for the 4th and 5th steps, there are many 9 ancestors, so there is no record. Not eligible to be included in the list. And the Shizhuan Daozu of the 9-story building ranks 9th on the first step list of the 9-story primordial ancestor, which is already a terrifying ranking. How the ranking is assessed, almost all rely on the record, and the deduction of the original ancestors of the Xian 9-fold, thus confirming its true strength of 203. Soon, Yi Tian came to Shishui Tianlu. Here, Yi Tian saw the list of the first, second and third steps. As for the list of the original ancestors of the Xian 9th layer, he was not qualified to contact them. The 73 ancestors of the 9-fold ancestor of the first step. 369 of the 9 original ancestors of the second step. 1. More than 1,100 ancestors of the 9-fold ancestor of the third step. 1. The number of the 9 ancestors is too many. Yi Tian exclaimed secretly. But if you think about it carefully, the 8-fold ancestor will occasionally fall, and even a war may cause countless 8-fold ancestors to fall, but the 9th-fold ancestor is difficult to fall. Over the long years, the 9-fold ancestors have accumulated a huge amount. For example, in the 9 layers building, he is not very clear on how many 9 layers primordial ancestors there are. However, only the 73 original ancestors of the first step are the only ones who truly are countless Taoist ancestors. They are the strongest under the original ancestors of the Xian 9th stage. The strength of the ancestors. At this time, the owner of Shishui Tianlu is the original ancestor of the 9 layers on the first step, the ancestor of the gods in blood. Seeing Yi Tian coming, the ancestor of the gods in blood briefly explained the rules of breaking into the Shishui Tianlu. Endless Daozu, Shishui Tianlu is divided into 5 layers, each layer of time and space is sealed with powerful primitive antiquity. They are difficult to kill, you only need to defeat them, and Shishui Tianlu believes that you have defeated the opponent. You can enter the next floor without killing them. If you really kill them, we will not be able to continue to capture so many primitive antiquities of the material level. The God Blood Daozu reminded. God Blood Daozu, I understand. Yi Tian nodded. Soon, Yi Tian entered the first floor of Shishui Tianlu, where he saw a primitive antiquity at the chemical level, exuding a tyrannical aura. This phantom-level primitive antiquity is the weakest phantom level, and as long as he is defeated, he will have the combat power of the 5th level 9th level primordial ancestor. If you can't beat even this magical level, then it's really not as good as the 5th step. And above the silent Black Sea, there is really a 9-level ancestor who can't even enter the 5th step, but the number of such 9-level ancestors is extremely rare, and it is only a little more powerful than the top half-step 9-level ancestor. Boom! Yi Tian only used one move to directly blow up the body of the object. Although the opponent recovered quickly, Qi Shui Tianlu determined that Yi Tian had passed the first floor. So, he came to the second floor. The second layer material level is more powerful, and it is only 2 ends at a time. As long as they are defeated, they will have the strength of the 4th level 9th level ancestor. These 2 chemical levels are much stronger than the chemical level on the first floor. CJFJ. Yi Tian secretly said. As soon as they fought, he felt the pressure. He knew very well that even if he could defeat these 2 objects, he would not be able to get past the 3rd floor. After a period of time, Yi Tian finally defeated these 2 transformation levels, and then came to the 3rd floor. As predicted, on the 3rd floor, he simply couldn't beat the 3-headed creature level here, and he was defeated after a while. It seems that my strength can only be ranked in the 4th step of the 9-fold primitive ancestor. Yi Tian muttered. This is also normal, after all, he has just broken through to the original ancestor of the 9 layers, and it is very difficult to jump to the 3rd step at once. And most of the 9 ancestors are only on the 5th step, and it is extremely difficult to upgrade to the 4th step. I thought my strength could be ranked in the 3rd step. Yi Tian said with some emotion. However, it won't take long for him to step into the 3rd step. After returning, Yi Tian began to plan his future cultivation path. When you reach the realm of the original ancestor of the 9 layers, there are many aspects that can be done if you want to quickly improve your strength. For example, improving the boundless will, improving the cultivation base, improving the level of life, and improving the boundless Tao. At present, Yi Tian's immeasurable will and life level are not worse than those of the 3rd and 2nd steps, but his weak point is the immeasurable way. Like the rudiment of the immeasurable path, the real immeasurable path is also divided into entry, minor, major, and consummation. The entry-level immeasurable Tao can only create ordinary immeasurable Tao control skills. To create the top immeasurable Tao control skills, you must have the boundless Tao of the small achievement realm. Previously limited to the cultivation base, Yi Tian did not focus on comprehending the infinite Tao, because it was too difficult and a waste of time to comprehend the infinite Tao to the Shaocheng realm in the half-step 9-fold primitive ancestor realm. You have to work hard to comprehend the immeasurable Tao. Yi Tian muttered, and there are only 2 treasures suitable for comprehending the infinite Tao in the 9-story building. Infinite time and space to mountains. These 2 places can speed up the enlightenment of the immeasurable way, but other places can't. And even if it is the original ancestor of the 9 layers, it is impossible for him to cultivate and comprehend forever in the boundless time and space and the boundless mountain, because the boundless time and space and the boundless mountain are about to collapse. If it were not strictly restricted, these 2 treasures would probably not exist. Therefore, if you want to enter these 2 places to practice for a long time, you must meet certain requirements. For example, the 9th level ancestors of the 5th step can only practice 1 trillion yuan era years in 2 treasures. The 9th level ancestors of the 4th step can only practice 10 trillion yuan era years in 2 treasures. And Yi Tian is now on the 4th step, so he has the time to practice 10 trillion years of the original era. Chapter 2278 Life Level 101. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Go to infinite time and space to practice first. Yi Tian decided. With his talent, he felt that he should have the hope of comprehending the infinite Tao cultivation to the realm of small achievement or above in the 10 trillion yuan era. But to what extent it can be improved, he can't be sure. Afterwards, Yi Tian went to boundless time and space. Before entering the boundless time and space, the Zhu Xingdao ancestor who guarded the 9-layered building reminded Yi Tian, the endless Tao ancestor, entering the boundless space-time cultivation, must try his best to restrain his breath and do not leak his breath. The breath of the 9-layer original ancestor is too strong, and the boundless space and time should have collapsed long ago. It is the 9-story building that has been maintained, so if you want to leak your breath, it will bring unimaginable burdens to countless time and space. I see, Yi Tian replied. Then, Yi Tian tried his best to restrain his breath, and then entered the boundless time and space. As soon as he entered the infinite time and space, Yi Tian saw the dense cracks in the infinite time and space, and the entire time and space seemed to be fragmented. Sure enough, this piece of time and space is almost unbearable, and only the 9-story building can maintain such a time and space. Yi Tian muttered. Immediately, he found a random position and began to comprehend and practice. Here, in addition to him, there are some ninefold ancestors, and everyone cultivated quietly and did not do other things. Yi Tian also quietly comprehends the immeasurable Tao. As soon as he comprehended, he found that the infinite time and space were very helpful for comprehending the infinite Tao, and the effect of his comprehension here was too great. No wonder the Zhouzhang building maintains infinite time and space at all costs. This is an incredible treasure. Yi Tian exclaimed secretly. Years passed, Yi Tian continued to comprehend the immeasurable Tao here, and other copying bodies naturally had no restrictions. If the level of life should be improved, the level of life should be improved. If the infinite will was tempered, the immeasurable will was tempered. Quickly increase your strength. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of billions of years have passed. On this day, Yi Tian's infinite Tao is still in the entry stage, but his life level is about to break through. In these years, Yi Tian has also been collecting resources that can improve his life level, and even sneaked into the cut-off restricted area. Although he did not enter the cut-off source C, he used one by one to copy the body to collect resources in the cut-off restricted area. Treasures of life level. He used these resources to finally break the 100 life level boundaries. Ordinary 9th level primordial ancestors can't break this limit at all, but he reached 9.9 life level when he was half-step 7th level primordial ancestor, so this limit can be broken for him. Boom! The life level was broken, Yi Tian's life level reached 101, and he seemed to underestimate the transformation brought by the life level breaking 100. The 100 life level and the 101 life level seem to be only a little short, but in fact the gap is too big. In the past, although Yi Tian knew that above the 100th life level, every improvement was a huge improvement, but he didn't really feel it, but now he feels it. This moment, Yi Tian's body was constantly changing, and the improvement of his life level not only made his life energy skyrocket, but also made his physical body much stronger. After a long time, he really completed the transformation. Upgrading my life level to 101 has directly increased my strength by at least 80%. Yi Tian muttered. Afterwards, he went to Shishuidianlu to test his combat power again, but he still didn't pass the 3rd floor, but he almost passed. That is to say, as long as his strength is further improved, he can rank the 3rd step of the 9-fold primitive ancestor. According to my inference, if I want to be ranked on the 3rd step of the 9-fold primitive ancestor, it will be fine if the infinite will reaches the 50 mark, or the life level will be raised to 102, or the infinite Tao will be raised to the small achievement realm. 1. Yi Tian muttered. Among these 3 aspects, the easiest should be the infinite will. Because during this period of time, his immeasurable will has increased again, reaching the 43 mark. Although it is difficult to improve, if he can sneak into the cut-off source C and find that kind of black liquid, he can quickly improve the immeasurable will. It's just that, with his current Zhouzhang Yuanzu's cultivation base, it is easy to find out if he sneaks into the cut-off source C, unless the jellyfish and old soul in the cut-off restricted area leave the cut-off source C. However, he had no way of confirming the news. Unless it gets mixed up with the upper floors of the truncation penalty area. Yi Tian thought. Unexpected. He had an idea, it seemed that he could really get into the top of the truncation penalty area. Before, although he copied the creatures that cut off the restricted area, the ones he copied were all weak creatures, with little status, and would not attract much attention. For flowers. But if he replicates a creature with good potential, and with his talent, he can definitely easily create a creature with extremely high potential. At that time, he can definitely enter the high-level circle of truncating the restricted area. Will it be easier to collect resources at that time? Although the truncation forbidden area is small, it has a lot of resources. Otherwise, there is no way to produce so many to strengthen the object. Just do it, the chances of being discovered are close to 0. So, Yi Tian started to pick targets. Picking and choosing, Yi Tian felt that the soul-splitting red beast was better. After all, among the soul-splitting red beasts, there is a soul elder who can be said to be the strongest in the truncated restricted area to the level of reinforcement, at least there is a big backer. 0. Moreover, the soul-splitting red beast family has only 1 to strengthen the material level, and the number of other material levels is also small, so he is easy to get attention. Unlike other races that cut off the restricted area, even if it really becomes a material level, it does not necessarily get attention. Immediately, Yi Tian copied a newly born soul-splitting red beast, killed it and replaced it. However, Yi Tian integrated Jiam and Yuandao ancestor Fu into the body of this soul-splitting red beast, and then practiced with the body of this soul-splitting red beast, constantly improving his life level and soul. Although the cultivation way is the same, the road can be used for reference. Under the control of Yi Tian, the cloned body of this soul-splitting red beast grew very fast. In just 10 billion years of the original era, the cloned body of this spirit-splitting red beast had grown to the peak of the eightfold ancestor. Soul-splitting red beasts do not follow the path of cultivators. They only need to transform their bloodlines 3 times to become a half-step chemical rank comparable to the half-step 9-fold original ancestor level. And Yi Tian found that with the help of the infinite Tao, this bloodline transformation could be accelerated. So, Yi Tian started to use the infinite Tao to speed up the bloodline transformation, and tried to create a bloodline transformation technique. For this reason, Yi Tian let this soul-splitting red beast die countless times and went through countless trials before finally creating a success. With this bloodline transformation technique, Yi Tian easily completed 3 bloodline transformations and advanced to half-step transformation level. And Yi Tian's advanced half-step transformation level has attracted the attention of those transformation levels of the soul-splitting red beast clan. After all, Yi Tian's growth rate is too terrifying. Corpse. Chapter 2279 Infinite Dao Shaocheng. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Soon, the material level existence of the soul-splitting red beast summoned Yi Tian. There is no special idea to summon Yi Tian to these object levels, just to meet Yi Tian, the genius of the soul-splitting red beast clan, and by the way, give some resources to help Yi Tian practice. This also allows Yi Tian to save a lot of resources, and he can completely rely on the resources of the soul-splitting red beast clan to cultivate. In addition, he has a higher status in the soul-splitting red beast clan. Another period of time has passed. Yi Tian relied on the bloodline transformation technique to duplicate the body of the soul-splitting red beast and completed the bloodline transformation again and again. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of billions of years have passed. On this day, the cloned body of this soul-splitting red beast finally completed 9 bloodline transformations and advanced to the material level. So, Yi Tian turned the soul-splitting red beast into a human form. There are all kinds of body types at the physical level, and Yi Tian is also, 23, as a habitual humanoid, so there is no problem at all. After this cloned body has become an object rank, it will naturally become the top of the soul-splitting red beast clan, and he has also displayed terrifying combat power, which is much more powerful than the general object rank, and even got the attention of the old soul. But obviously even the old soul did not see the details of Yi Tian, and only thought that Yi Tian was a pure soul-splitting red beast. After becoming the top of the soul-splitting red beast clan, Yi Tian not only had a lot of subordinates, but also collected resources in an open and honest way, and even traded with other races in the restricted area. More importantly, it's easier for him to get information on the truncation penalty area. For example, he now knows that the jellyfish is still cutting off the source sea, but it has returned to calm, and it will be able to come out from the cut-off source sea in a few years. The jellyfish is about to come out. Great, so I can take the opportunity to send the human replica body in. Yi Tian secretly said. After a period of time, the jellyfish came out. Then, Yi Tian sneaked into the truncated origin sea with his own human clone body, but this did not attract any attention from the material level, and successfully let the human clone body enter the truncated origin sea. After entering the cut-off source sea, Yi Tian was still very low-key, trying to restrain his breath as much as possible. Later, he found a batch of black liquid, and then used these black liquid to temper his boundless will. With the help of the black liquid, Yi Tian's boundless will began to rapidly rise again. 45 scales, 46 scales, 47 scales. Gradually, Yi Tian's boundless will reach the 50 mark. Finally reaching the 50 mark, my current strength should be able to rank in the 3rd step. Yi Tian muttered. Afterwards, he went to Shishuitianlu again, and came to the 3rd floor to test his combat effectiveness. After some arduous battles, he passed the 3rd floor, which means that he now has the strength of the 3rd step of the 9-fold primitive ancestor. Endless Dao ancestor broke through the 3rd floor of Shishuitianlu. Dongchen Daozu and several other Xian 9th level ancestors were a little surprised when they got the news. They didn't expect Yi Tian to have the strength of the 3rd step of the 9th level primitive ancestor so quickly. They must know that many of the 9th level primitive ancestors practiced for countless years, and there is no way to have the strength of the 3rd step. And how long did it take Yi Tian to break through the original ancestor of the 9 layers? It can be regarded as just breaking through not long ago. The talent of the Endless Daozu is too enchanting. After entering the Zhouzhang Yuanzu, this speed of progress has not stopped. Dongchen Daozu was secretly surprised. He has lived for too long, so he has seen countless geniuses who are incomparably enchanting, but after those geniuses reached the realm of the ninefold primordial ancestor, almost all of them became ordinary. After all, who can become the original ancestor of the 9 layers, which is not a demon? But Yi Tian still maintains such a terrifying growth rate, which is beyond the expectations of Dongchen Daozu and other supreme ancestors. At this speed, wouldn't Yi Tian be able to rank the first step in a long time? And the 9th level ancestors of the first step have the potential to become the 9th level ancestors of the supreme power, and anyone can hope to break through at any time. Of course, Dongchen Daozu and the others did not interfere too much with Yi Tian's growth. Now, they are not too worried about Yi Tian's safety. With Yi Tian's strength, even the 9th level ancestor of the first step would not be able to kill Yi Tian in an instant, unless it was the supreme power 9th level ancestor. But when it comes to the original ancestor of the Xeon 9th layer, it is impossible to take action against Yi Tian under normal circumstances. Soon, Yi Tian's name appeared on the 3rd level list of the original ancestors of the 9 layers, but the ranking was relatively low, ranking the bottom. But even so, entering the 3rd tier list this time still shocked the entire 9-story building and other top powers. Cut off the source C. Yi Tian began to use the massive blue crystals to improve his cultivation, and the red algae to improve his life level. If his life level can reach 102, his strength will also be improved. With sufficient resources, Yi Tian can practice with peace of mind. Moreover, he also has a substance-level copy body as his heart, and controls the information. If Soul Elder and Jellyfish want to break into the cut-off source C, he can get the news in advance and avoid them. Time flies, and hundreds of billions of years have passed in the blink of an eye. This day, Yi Tian's life level broke the shackles again, reaching the 102 life level, and his strength skyrocketed. Afterwards, another trillion years passed, and Yi Tian's life level rose again, reaching the 103 life level. Such a rapid improvement made Yi Tian extremely excited, but at this level of life, it would be more difficult to continue to improve. It also cuts off too many resources in the source C, thus allowing Yi to continuously refine 10 levels of life. Finally, after the 6 trillion years of the original era, Yi Tian's life level was raised again, reaching the 104 life level. But at this time, he also found that such 5.9 algae plants were of very limited help to him, and it would take a lot of time and countless years to hope to raise the level of life again. It's not bad that the life level has reached 104. My strength is already very strong now, and I'm not weak in the 3rd step. Yi Tian murmured. Immediately afterwards, he had a breakthrough again. But this time it wasn't the life level, but he made a breakthrough on the immeasurable path. His immeasurable Tao has risen from the entry level to the small achievement realm. This time is a huge breakthrough, which is greater than the improvement brought by raising a little life level. With the breakthrough of the immeasurable Tao, Yi Tian's immeasurable Tao domain power also skyrocketed. If he waits for him to create the top immeasurable Tao control skills, his strength will skyrocket, and then he will be enough to rank among the top ranks in the 3rd step. Chapter 2280 Xiaoguang Gap. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. After the infinite Tao reached the small achievement realm, Yi Tian began to create the top infinite Tao control skills, and he perfected his own infinite Tao control skills to the level of the top infinite Tao control skills. After a period of time, his strength has skyrocketed. Afterwards, he went to Shishuidianlu again, and went to the 4th floor first. Although he was defeated, he did not resist at all, but he was defeated after fighting for a period of time. Moreover, he can easily break through the 3rd floor. This means that his strength is definitely at the top level of the 3rd step. At this level, he is very close to the 2nd step of the 9-fold original ancestor, and if he becomes stronger, he is enough to rank in the 2nd level of the 9-fold original ancestor. The number of 9th level ancestors on the 2nd step is very small, only more than 300. This is the number of 9th level ancestors who have reached the 2nd step among all the forces in the entire Silent Black Sea. And if it is allocated to the 9-layered building, the number of the 9-layered ancestors on the 2nd step is only more than 50. In other words, Yi Tian's current strength has already ranked among the top 100 in the 9-story building. 29 After ranking the 3rd step of the 9-fold primordial ancestor, Yi Tian has spent 500,000 yuan epochs practicing in infinite time and space, so he doesn't need to worry about this issue for the time being. Such a long time is enough for him to raise the infinite Tao to the realm of Dachang, and maybe his combat power will be enough to rank in the 2nd step. Cut off the restricted area. This day, Yi Tian received the message from Hun Lao, so he immediately came to the lair of the soul-splitting Red Beast clan to meet Hun Lao. Soul Old, Yi Tian respectfully said after seeing Old Soul. After seeing Yi Tian, Hun Lao said, Tianhe, come with me. Tianhe is the name of Yi Tian, the soul-splitting Red Beast body. After all, it is impossible for him to use his real name Yi Tian. Subsequently, Yi Tian followed the Old Soul to an unknown place in the cut-off restricted area. Apart from him, the soul-splitting Red Beast also came. Not long afterward, Yi Tian saw one of the truncation forbidden areas to the reinforcement level. Almost all of them came here, and also saw other material levels. At this time, Yi Tian was very confused about what to do, but it was definitely not a trivial matter. At this time, the Old Soul finally revealed, wait a minute, you will enter the first treasure of the restricted area, the Xiaoguang Gap. Remember, the Xiaoguang Gap only appears at a specific time, and it will only appear for a certain period of time. It must be within a certain time. Come out, otherwise, you will never be able to come out. Even those of us who are at the enhanced level cannot save you. Xiaoguang Gap. Yi Tian was stunned. He had never heard of this place. It was obviously a big secret to truncate the restricted area. Later, the Old Soul told the secret of the Xiaoguang Gap. It turned out that after entering the Ray of Light, you only need to absorb a special ray of light to strengthen your soul, increase your understanding, and improve your wisdom. And many creatures that cut off the restricted area lack wisdom. Although they are not as brainless as the original antiquities, their wisdom is really inferior to that of practitioners, and this special glow can increase wisdom. Of course, these superpowers will not let those ordinary clansmen enter the crevice of the glow, mainly because they cannot survive. The suppression there is terrifying, and without the strength of the material level, entering there is courting death, and even coming out is an extravagant hope. Therefore, the chemical grade is the minimum requirement. In addition, the entrance of the Xiaoguang slit cannot accommodate too many chemical levels at one time, otherwise it will cause the turbulence of the entrance, which will easily cause major problems. Therefore, there is a limit to the number of places that can be sent into the Xiaoguang slit from the truncated restricted area. Soon, Yi Tian saw the entrance of the Xiaoguang crack, which was a space-time crack that exuded a special light. Go in, Old Soul said. Yi Tian did not hesitate at all, and directly passed through this space-time crack and entered the gap of the glow. Entering here, Yi Tian knows why this place is called the Xiaoguang Gap. This is an area that emits a special glow. Outside this area is darkness, and this area is very thin, like a gap. Yi Tian didn't dare to explore that dark area. According to Old Soul's advice, he could only stay in the gap of the glow, and don't leave here, otherwise he would be swallowed up by the darkness, and even if he was at the chemical level, he would definitely die. Yi Tian naturally wouldn't go to that dark area foolishly. After all, he couldn't even reach the enhancement level, so he naturally didn't think he was special. Besides, he has a plan of his own. A ray of sunshine appeared. Yi Tian and other avatars started to snatch this ray of sunshine, and soon he snatched a ray of sunshine into the depths of his soul, and then absorbed this ray of sunshine to strengthen his soul. Although this is just a cloned body, and it is also the body of a soul-splitting red beast, strengthening the soul is not good for the main body, but this cloned body is not bad. This ray of sunshine is so incredible, it has greatly improved the soul of this replica body, and its comprehension has also improved. Yi Tian was surprised. This is simply an unimaginable treasure resource, and there seems to be a lot of sunshine here. Next, Yi Tian began to absorb Xiaoguang to strengthen his soul. Because the innate talent of this body is very powerful, the speed of absorbing the refining glow is also stronger than other chemical grades. But just after refining hundreds of rays of sunshine, the entire beam of sunshine began to vibrate. Get out of the glow gap. One of the avatars was nervous, and did not dare to delay a little time, for fear that he would not be able to escape from here. Therefore, almost in an instant, these objects escaped, leaving only Yi Tian. Copy. Yi Tian started to replicate his own human replica body. 203 Although his copy body does not have the talent for copying, it has the imprint of the talent for copying. If the imprint is used, the energy of the talent for copying can still be used, and the ability to copy naturally exists. However, using the copy talent imprint to copy will consume a lot of resources and time. Therefore, Yi Tian usually will use this ability. But now he has no way to bring his own human copy body, so he can only copy it like this. As a result, a lot of resources are consumed, and time is slowly passing. Hopefully it can be replicated in time. Yi Tian muttered. He continued to accelerate time, and finally copied his own human copy body when the entrance of the glow gap was about to dissipate. Immediately, Yi Tian let this soul-splitting red beast copy its body and escape. After all, this replica body has already gained a high status in the truncation penalty area, so naturally you can't give up like this. When Yi Tian came out from the gap of the glow, Old Soul immediately scolded, "Tianhe, how come out now?" "Old Soul, I just saw a cloud of rays of light, so I went to absorb it, and it took a little time." Yi Tian apologized. "Okay, just come out, don't be so reckless next time," Old Soul said. Afterwards, a group of creatures left here. And no one knew, Yi Tian actually left a duplicate body in the gap of the glow.